3:30 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Ms. Davis, according to the complaint that I've read, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that when you moved in together, you put down a substantial amount of money, almost, I think, $4,000. You call it a down payment on the house. You say that Mr. Brown subsequently kicked you out of the house and you want that money back. You also said that he's used a video card where you rent videos from a store without your permission. It belonged to you. He didn't return the videos, and you now have a very extensive bill from that store. Mr. Brown says you never gave him a dime, and he's got a counterclaim for bills that he claims you owe him, and he says you've been bothering him, that he doesn't like, so he wants you to pay for his trouble. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Ms. Davis, when did you move in with the defendant?
Your Honor, I would like to tell you how my ex-boyfriend did me wrong. He moved in with me in November of 2000.
But listen to my question. When did you move in together in a place where you claim you put money down?
In June of 2001.
That's wrong.
Shh. Now listen, I'm going to get to you. So don't interrupt her. We do things in a very orderly way here. It's the only way that I can function. Otherwise, I become frustrated. And Bird doesn't like it when I get frustrated. When did you move in together? June of 2001? Very good. And was this a house or an apartment?
It was a mobile home.
Was it a rental?
No, ma'am.
He bought it?
Process of buying, yes, ma'am.
And you say you gave him how much money?
It was $4,366.
And where did you get that money from?
I traded my mobile home in on the one that he purchased.
Okay, do you have any evidence of that transaction? All right, sir. I seem to have some evidence would tend to indicate, Mr. Brown, that she did not, in fact, give you any money towards the purpose of your mobile home.
Exactly, she did not.
Listen to me carefully, sir. I have evidence that she did not give you any money towards the purchase of your mobile home. But I have evidence here that she traded in her mobile home as a partial down payment for a mobile home that went into your name.
No, not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all. What has transpired was a mobile home that was sold from her cousin to me for $500, which we used as a trade-in.
Yeah, but they gave you credit for $4,366 as a down payment credit.
That was the value of the mobile home. I'm buying something for $500 and trading in for another amount. That's just like a good business transaction.
Your Honor, can
Does it make sense? It's a profitable business transaction. If you can buy a car for $200 and sell it for $2,000, that's a smart buy. So that's exactly what I did. I took a smart buy and used it to advance in a better home for me and my children.
Something doesn't sound right, sir.
It doesn't sound
Does it sound right to you? He buys it for $500 from her cousin and then uses it, and they give him a down payment credit of $4,366.
I also gave in a $2,500 cash deposit as well.
On or about June 26, 2001, traded in her 1964 Windsor mobile home as a down payment on a 1998 Horton manufactured home.
Right. This
1998 Horton manufactured was being purchased by David R. Brown. We gave Miss $4,366 on a down payment credit on the 1998 Horton.
Yes. Now, where's her name? Is that on any of that transaction?
Show that to him.
Your Honor, the reason why my name is not on there because the title was never changed over into my name, but I have a receipt where I purchased the mobile home before I met him.
That's for a different mobile home she's speaking of. And we never used that mobile home as a trade-in. This right here is sufficient. This right here is sufficient. And her name is not on there in that transaction because she has no involvement in the transaction.
I never said my name was on the mobile home, Your Honor.
She gave me these monies in her mobile home and her name is not on anything. Does that make any sense?
That is my cousin.
Her cousin.
Oh.
Her
So
name
they
ain't-
gave Miss $4,366 for the down payment.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Forget it. I don't look into that. Your name was not on the title to that mobile home?
No, ma'am.
All
Because
right,
at
then
the
forget
time,
it.
I did not have a job, but I have a receipt where I bought the mobile home from Miss.
Show me.
Do you have the receipt?
You mean
up
this?
there?
$500?
Yes, and I also have this
You,
right
you
here.
have this? Is this what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
That's nothing. That's nothing. That's something that you buy in a grocery store.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She won't leave me alone. We broke up, let it go. Yes, she's steady looking for a payout for something she knows she's not owed to.
Mr. Brown, I believe you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Morticia Davis says ex-boyfriend David Brown owes her for the down payment on a mobile home and unpaid video rentals. David says her lawsuit is bogus.
Now, what about this video card?
When I got evicted out the mobile home, he used my Blockbuster
When did he evict
card.
you from the mobile home?
May. She moved out of the home before the eviction took place. So therefore,
What do you mean there was an eviction? Had you gone to court to evict her?
I went to court to evict her.
Why is that?
Because there was South Carolina state law. If once someone established residence in your home, in order for them to move out against their will, you have to evict them out.
All right, so the relationship wasn't going well, I
It
assume.
was downhill from.
Do you have children together?
No, we do not. Thank God.
Perfect. Okay, so what about this video card?
Well, when he got his new girlfriend evicted me, I got some bills in the mail, which he used my card illegally at 3 different Blockbusters, never took the videos back.
Show me. You were evicted in May, is that right? Yes. Well, this is March of 2002.
Thank you.
This is March of 2002.
That's when he used
This
the
is
card,
March
Your
of
Honor.
2002.
And we both
This is
reside.
shh. This is March of 2002, and this is March of 2002. So this
After
is
I got evicted, that's when I got the bills in the mail, which he had used them.
No.
Well, listen to me, Miss Davis.
Yes.
How do what? You lived together in March of 2002. You were
He
sharing
was not
a home.
there in March,
Quiet.
Your Honor. He was not there. He lived with his new girlfriend until I got evicted.
Lies.
He was
Listen
not
to
there.
me.
Lie.
You kind of.
She's lying, Your Honor.
I don't want to say it again. It doesn't appear as if you're doing badly in this lawsuit so far. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
But what can happen is you can lose if you open your mouth again. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any of these movies home, sir?
No, I do not.
He's not going to admit
Do you
to
know
it.
where they are?
They last was left in the home that she was residing in. Now, what she did with them after that, I don't know.
Your Honor, that's not true.
I haven't been back to the house. At the time, I was out the house from late part of March all the way up until April, May.
Now he's
Back in
now
May.
he's
Don't
telling-
interrupt him.
Back into May.
All right, you have no case, Miss Davis. That's you. You want to get to your counterclaim? Mr. Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You said she owes you bills.
Yes, ma'am.
What does she owe you bills for?
For rent, electric bill.
She doesn't owe you for rent. You weren't anticipating any rent from her.
I loaned her a few $100s for a couple of car note payments.
Yeah, go ahead. What else?
And
Chalk it up to experience. What else?
harassment.
Well, I have a feeling that that's true, that she's been harassing you.
And she just don't.
I have a feeling that that's probably true. So you want to tell me about the harassment?
I mean, she caused problems with me at work. She caused problems with me and my children. I'm a single parent of 2 children. Today is my son's birthday. I should be home with him instead of her in this courtroom. But Ms. Davis, again, want to file a lawsuit that she have no bearing to hold on. So therefore, it's just constantly, she won't leave me alone. We broke up, let it go. But yes, she's steady looking for a payout for something she knows she's not owed to.
I believe you. I believe that she has made it her mission at this portion in her life to make your life miserable. That's what I believe. Put your hand down.
Judge
Why can't you just say it didn't work out, period, end of discussion? While you were living together for that year, where were you working?
Interim health care.
Okay.
And I took care of 4 kids.
What did you do with your money?
I paid bills.
What bills?
I have light bills, water bills, phone bills.
He paid the rent.
Yes, that's all he paid was the rent and the land payment.
What about the food?
I got that.
No,
Really?
I was on food stamps, Your Honor.
was not. She was not. And as far as the electric bills and bills, those bills are in my name. And then she couldn't pay those bills. That's why I'm here now about the electric bill and
Yeah.
bills that she has now.
Your Honor, I have these bills. Yes, they was
After-
in his
Show
name,
me.
but I paid them.
Show me.
After the
Show me.
fact that I left the house and I had these utilities cut off because she refused to pay them.
You mean
running them up in my name.
after you left in March?
After I left in March. She was running them up in my name. Therefore, I had these bills.
Your
these
Honor, that's
utilities
not true.
disconnected.
Yeah, this is April. I want to see anything before that, madam, before you were in the house by yourself. You have proof that you paid any bills?
I paid all my bills, Your
Listen
Honor.
to what I'm
No,
saying
Your
to
Honor,
you.
that is all I have.
Right. That I can understand.
And
He
Mr.
moved
Brown
out-
had those bills in his name because he moved up there before I did. That's why they was in
Pay
his name.
careful attention to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have a checking account?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
So all you have to do was to bring to court today, since you knew that he was counterclaiming for bills.
Your Honor, I didn't
proof,
know.
Proof? What do you mean you didn't know?
I didn't know he was countersuing me.
Really? When did you file your counterclaim, sir?
Monday.
When did you serve her?
He haven't.
Oh, then it's dismissed. Your counterclaim's dismissed. But not only is your counterclaim dismissed, Mr. Brown, but so is your lawsuit. And I'm going to make this suggestion to you. Sometimes things don't work out. How old are you?
I'm 24.
You have children?
I have two. I'm a single parent.
Put a period, this is over, and devote all of your energies to working and your two children. Leave him alone. He doesn't owe you any money.
I
Goodbye.
don't harass him, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He jumped on me twice, and the mobile home was mine, which I didn't have the title with me.
Many a times she had me arrested for domestic criminal violence, something that I didn't do.
He's not going to do anything without being in the courtroom because he think he can get away with a lot of stuff.
She came in here, Judge Judy seen between the lies and what she was trying to tell, didn't get nothing. Justice was served for the first time.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robinson versus Bradford. Step forward, please.
Psychotherapist Cliff Robinson is suing his former friend, lab technician Angela Bradford, for the cost to repair his car window. Angela is countersuing also for the cost of a car window.
Mr. Robinson, it is your claim that the defendant's son broke a window in your car, that the defendant, who was a friend of yours, agreed to fix it and did not pay you the money that it cost you to fix this rear window. Was it a rear window of your car?
Rear quarter panel, yes.
Ms. Bradford says, I think she's saying that she had initially agreed to pay for the window. Is that right?
That is correct.
But later, your son broke one of her windows in her car, and you should pay for that window. Is that your defense?
It is.
So let's make this as simple as we can, because Bird knows that I like to keep things simple. How much was the window in your car, Mr. Robinson?
The window itself, Your Honor, came to $972.29.
Let me see.
I have pictures and the estimate.
Well, I'm just curious because in here you say that my window cost $800 to replace, sir.
That's with the labor and what it cost to.
What did
everything
it
altogether.
cost you?
$972, whatever the difference was.
How did you pay for this?
Cash.
No. Not even sure about this bill. What kind of window was this?
It's a rear quarter panel window in the Eddie Bauer Expedition.
Oh,
It's
so it's a big window.
a big window.
Okay. Now, the only question that I have is whether or not you are in any way responsible for damage that she alleges your son did to her window. So, Ms. Bradford, I read your answer and I read your cross-complaint. And it appeared to me that you two were friends.
Correct.
How many children do you have?
I have 4.
And there came a time when, after this incident involving his car, he brought his kids over to your house to play
Correct.
and asked you if you would watch his kids for a while.
For 15 minutes, which turned into an hour and a half.
Whatever. You agreed to take care of his
I did.
children. And it was while you were in charge of his children that your car window was broken.
Correct.
Should have taken care of him better. Do you understand?
I hear exactly what you're saying,
Okay. Because It was your job to supervise the children because you had assumed that responsibility when he left his kids there. Therefore, if something happened to your car as a result of a ball being thrown, that's your problem, not his. It's a lot of money. Do you have any insurance, sir?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Well, what's your deductible?
$1,000.
Do you have any proof that you have a $1,000 deductible?
I didn't bring any insurance with the information.
Why is that?
I didn't think it was relevant.
Well, it is relevant, sir. It's relevant how much out-of-pocket you had. Are you telling me that you actually paid Collins Auto Glass $972 in
That's
cash?
correct.
Let's give them a call and find out. You know these people?
No, I don't.
They were just people you chose randomly?
That's correct.
Okay, good. In Seattle, Washington, for Collins Auto Glass. So there is no Collins Auto Glass in Seattle. Mr. Robinson, sir, is this Collins Auto Glass in Seattle?
Yes, it is.
Well, they don't have a listing for him in Seattle, sir.
Well, I know in...
They don't have a listing for him in Seattle, Washington. There is a phone number on here, sir. 206 number? There is a phone number here. It's your phone number. The only phone number that appears on this is your phone number.
Yeah, my information is on there, and then in the... I don't know.
Show it to him.
Yeah, that's my telephone number.
That's correct.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't.
Collins Auto Glass doesn't have a phone number for their business. They also don't know how to spell residential.
Well, I know in June, when I got it fixed, there was a Collins Auto Glass. I got it out of the Yellow Pages.
Well, it must have been their last job, Mr. Robinson, because they closed down. They're not there anymore. Sort of interesting. But I'm holding you to what your complaint says, or your sworn complaint says it was $800 to replace. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. On your counterclaim, Ms. Bradford, I've already explained to you the children were under your supervision when your car window got broken, so if you weren't supervising them adequately, I can't fault him for that. That's all.
Now, this is case number 482 on the calendar in the matter of Simon versus Ream. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Simons, a relatively simple case. You want the engagement ring back. Is that right?
Yes, please.
And Ms. Ream, I've read your answer, and it's sort of like one from column A, one from column B. You have the following defenses, according to what I read. Number one, it wasn't an engagement ring because you never said yes.
Yes.
If you don't buy that, it was an engagement ring, but he told you you should keep it even if you didn't get married, correct?
Yes.
And number three, in case you don't buy those two, it was an engagement ring. There was no deal for me to keep it. I would have given it back, but it got stolen.
Yes, ma'am.
So you don't have it anymore.
No, ma'am.
Is that right? When did you give her the ring?
I think it was May of 2001.
And how long had you known her?
I met her in November. I knew her approximately 6 months and gave her the ring.
Okay, what kind of a ring was it?
It was an engagement ring.
Can I see the receipt for it?
I have the receipt. Plus, Your Honor, at the time, I had just moved, and I didn't have the receipt for the second half of the ring, but I've found that, and I've got that. So here are those two receipts.
What do you mean the second half of the ring?
You know, the band that goes, connects as one.
Oh, you mean the wedding bands?
Yeah, yes.
Set.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am, yes. And that's the other half that I still have, which does mean no good.
Okay, where is this? Did you give her both of these rings?
No.
You have one?
I have one, yes.
Okay, so it's $969.75.
Yes, Judge, yes.
Okay. So you gave it to her in May, and you broke up when?
Around July, things started falling apart.
July of?
2001.
2001. When did you ask for the ring back?
Around August, I believe, the end of July.
What'd she tell you?
She agreed. We both agreed that it wasn't going to work out, and I went to pick up the ring. she had told me that she let some carpet cleaning people into her house and she was afraid to be alone with these men. So she left. And when I got there, she went to get the ring, it was gone. It's funny because there was lots of jewelry, diamonds, everything, but they only took mine, my little ring. And I couldn't understand that. That didn't make sense to me.
Okay, just a second. So you broke up in July, and it was a month later that you went over to get the ring.
Correct.
But you had asked for it when?
Probably the end of July.
Okay, and she said come over in August.
Yes. Well, she kept saying it might work, I hope it works, it might work, it may not work. So we tried, and it wasn't going anywhere.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
Like it said, I lost my husband prior to that, and I was very vulnerable. And
I'm not interested in that.
Okay,
I mean, not that I'm insensitive,
okay,
madam. It has
okay.
nothing to do with the ring.
But, okay, well, we started dating, and I told him I wasn't ready to get married. And he got pushy about the ring. And then he asked me to marry him in May, and I told him I wasn't ready. And then he said, keep it as a gift. And
Baloney.
think about it.
All right, let's just say nothing. Say nothing. I don't believe that. Go to the next defense.
Okay, I put it into my jewelry box for safekeeping, and so then, like he said, I had the cleaners come. I had to go pick up my daughter from school. Should have only taken 15 to 20 minutes, and so I went to pick her up, came back, and there was some coins and a little bit of jewelry missing, and the ring. And he made me call the police, and we made a police report. It's right here. And it couldn't be an engagement ring because he dated other women. He verbally abused me. He verbally abused my daughter.
I'm not interested.
Okay. But it just was an engagement ring.
Sure, it was an engagement ring. It was an engagement ring because he bought not only the ring, he bought the wedding band.
I told him I wasn't ready to get married. He told me to keep it.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You owe him $975. Let me explain something to you. If you have a ring and if you break up with him and if you're not going to see him anymore, you give him back the ring. Case closed.
I tried to.
Case closed. In July, you don't hold on to it and put it in a box for safekeeping. That is, if in fact you put it in a box for safekeeping and you didn't go sell it someplace, which I think you probably did, or you still have it and maybe you're going to give it to your daughter or somebody else. In the meantime, if it doesn't work out, why should he feel as if you've taken advantage of him? Why?
It was the other way. He told me he needed money for tires. Constantly always after me for money, all the time. That's what this is all about. He just told me he's going to take me to court to get tires because he needs new tires and because he just bought another house.
Listen to me very carefully, madam.
He's taken advantage of me from the very beginning.
Then how old are you?
I'm 38, but I'm very well put together. At the time I wasn't. I was distraught.
Listen to me. You don't look like the kind of person that anybody takes advantage of.
I just lost my husband and my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and he knew this.
Listen to me. Listen to me. If you were grieving over your husband, you don't take a ring from somebody else.
I know that. I know that now.
But you did. But you did.
Made a
and
mistake.
by taking a ring from somebody, what you're really saying is, I'm interested. I'm interested. That's leading somebody on. That's cruel. That's unkind. And in my judgment, after listening to both of these stories and hearing your three defenses, A, I didn't say yes. B, if I said yes, he told me to keep it anyway, even if we broke up. And C, it got stolen. I don't believe you. After he came over and looked for the ring, you said, I'm sorry, my other stuff is here, but your ring is gone. He said, well, file a police report, which is what you did, correct? Anywhere in the police report did it say that there was evidence of a burglary?
Yes.
Well, show me. Show me where. No, read it where it says there was evidence of burglary.
Right here on the top. It says crime, burglary.
Show me where the police wrote down that there was evidence of a burglary, not what you claimed there was.
It doesn't say burglary, but it says she opened the top drawer and discovered her ring missing.
Right, that's what you said. That's not what the...
That's what he said.
No,
he also did this police report with me.
Miss Reed, I mean, are you just thick? He comes over to get his ring. You go in with him to your drawer. You open the drawer with him. You say, oh, your ring must have been taken, along with some other coins that I might have there. That's too bad. Then you go and file a police report because he says, according to you, that you should go and file a police report, which is what you did. That doesn't mean the police found any evidence of a burglary because there was no burglary. You have insurance, by the way?
Whatever.
You have insurance on your other jewelry?
No, I don't.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of the ring, which was $969.75. Ms. Ream, I don't believe you. Goodbye.
You don't have
Thank
to.
you, Your Honor.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
He was always telling me to buy him things and stuff like that and saying, well, you got money, you got money.
I own 2 homes, and she told me to sell my homes and give her all my money.
He sues everybody. This is not his first time he sued somebody. He's sue happy.
She used to call me on the phone and threaten me and tell me if I go to court, I'll be sorry.
He's a liar and he took advantage and he knows it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Henderson. Step forward, please.
Maintenance man Joe Smith is suing his former live-in lover, paratransit driver Lisa Henderson, for the return of property. Lisa is countersuing for damages to her home and mental anguish.
According to your complaint, you folks lived together for about 4 years. And at some point, Mr. Smith, you were arrested on a domestic violence charge, either domestic violence or violating a protective order that Ms. Henderson had obtained. It is your claim that while you were incarcerated, she took your property and she won't give it back to you. You did get some of your property, but she still has a whole bunch of your stuff.
Correct.
That's what your lawsuit is about. Ms. Henderson says that you got everything that you're entitled to. What you didn't take yourself, an uncle of yours came and picked up. And she is counterclaiming for some damage that you did to her door when you were violating this protective order. So that's what we have. When were you arrested, Mr. Smith, for the first time on this charge of domestic violence?
That was like almost 4 years ago. I don't remember the exact date.
That's not the time that you took your property.
Yes, that's the previous time. It happened twice.
How many times have you been arrested altogether for domestic violence?
Once.
No, it had to be more than once. You said once 4 years ago, once more recently.
No,
So
this was for violating a restraining order for just going to the residence. There wasn't any violence involved.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was charged twice. One for holding me captive in my apartment
When was
I
that?
was 6 months pregnant in January of 2000. And he was convicted of that charge. We got back together.
A
and
testament to your good judgment.
Yeah. October 17th of last year, I had a restraining order issued to him. 2 hours and 15 minutes later, after he was served, he kicked in the front door.
Now, why was another protective order issued in October of 2002?
Because we were not getting along in the household. I asked Mr. Smith to leave my house. He was...
How long had he been living there?
For like 4 months. And we were not getting along.
So he's living there for 4 months. You weren't getting along. But no violence.
No. The police had to come out one incident in September where he threatened to put a hit out on me. Before that, he said he doesn't like my son and he never will. So I said, you need to get your belongings and get up out of my house. If you don't like my son, you don't care for me.
What happened in October?
I asked him to give him a certain amount of time to get his personal belongings and give him enough time to move out.
Did she do that?
No.
No, he...
Shh, just a second, don't interrupt. She didn't say to you have a week or 2 days or
No,
48
she said,
hours?
get out right now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We split everything in the household.
So he paid his way. So he wasn't just coming to visit on weekends, right?
Right.
Well, that's not what you say in here.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Smith says ex-girlfriend Lisa Henderson won't return his property. Lisa says Joe threatened to put a hit out on her.
What did you do when she told you to get out?
I told her I couldn't because I had just paid my rent, PG&E, and cable, and I have the receipts for that.
So you were paying the bills?
Yes.
Some of the bills at
Yes.
least there. So you said, I'm not leaving because I'm paid up through November 1st.
Actually, I told her I couldn't afford it because I just put my money into the household.
Okay.
But you told me you...
Shh, don't speak to him. Speak to me. So that was the conversation. He said, I'm not leaving right now. And what did you say to him?
I told him he needs to be out of my house within that Friday. He sits around bragging that he got so many women to take care of him. So I said, call one of them up, tell them to back their car up in here and get your things up out of my house.
And he said what?
He said, I'm not going nowhere. I'm a legal resident. I'm not going nowhere. You have to get me out legally. So
Okay.
the next day I went and filed for a restraining order.
Well, Ms. Henderson, that's a violation of really what the restraining order is supposed to be about, madam. A restraining order is not something that you use instead of housing court. You had a discussion, you had an argument, you said get out and leave, and he said I'm not leaving. And you said no, you're going to leave, and he said get me out a legal way, and you said what's the best legal way for me to get out? I'll just go and tell somebody he threatened me. And you fill out a paper and you lie, because so far I haven't heard anything about a threat. And a judge looks at it and issues a restraining order. That's an abuse of what a restraining order is supposed to be. I'm here to tell you that. You can't use it in place of housing court that may take a little more time. So I'm sure you knew housing court would take a little more time, so you say restraining order, that takes a flash, and he's out. So then he's annoyed, because you get this restraining order and you lied to the judge when you got it.
No.
Yeah, sure you did. You had to have written something down that wasn't true.
When he threatened to put a hit out on me.
That was before.
I had the police come out for a report.
That was before. You were not annoyed about that. You were annoyed because he was bragging about other women and your son, and you wanted him out of the house. Come on, Miss Henderson. So you got the restraining order, and then what did you do?
I had Mr. Smith served.
And then what happened?
And 2 hours and 15 minutes later, he came to the house and kicked the door in and threw the restraining order back in the house.
You have a copy of the papers that you used to get the restraining order? Can I see the checks that you wrote for any of the bills in the apartment, Mr.
Yes,
Smith,
ma'am.
please? How much money did he give you towards rent every month?
$100, sometime $97.
Did you pay the cable bill?
Sometime
Well, he
I
paid in September, he paid in August, he paid in May.
We split everything in the household.
So he paid his way. So he wasn't just coming to visit on weekends, right?
Right.
Well, that's not what you say in here, in your statement to the police. Sometimes I will allow him to stay a weekend or a few days because we were getting along, but then he won't leave. Well, that's not true.
Right. Mr. Smith
That's
got
not
evicted and asked me to come help him when he got evicted out of his place in Cutting. Our agreement was he was supposed to stay so long to save up enough money so he can get his own place.
Well, that's not months and months where he's paying half the rent, paying half the bills, cutting everything in half. So he is a tenant there.
Right.
Okay. All right, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
I want you to tell me, sir, what items do you claim that Miss Henderson has that belong to you?
Everything on my list that I have here.
Well, let me take a look at the list.
Okay. It's quite a bit. You might want to take a recess.
Show this to her, would you please, Bert?
No, I have my list, Your Honor. And this is the list that we had in November 22nd when he was incarcerated, and he gave it to me.
Who wrote that list?
He did.
Oh, then let me see that
And
list.
he got a different total from what he has on there.
Oh, fine. Then let me take a look. And the check, and what you've crossed out is...
The things that I gave to Larry in
So
November.
you still have the other things?
Because those are the things that he gave to me by him bringing it into the household, which is a gift to me.
No, it's not a gift. None of these things are gifts. I want you to listen to me. None of these things are gifts. Everything on this list that he prepared, so I won't look at this list. This is the list he prepared. You make sure are boxed up because he's going to send somebody to get them. Do you understand?
Yes.
No fooling around. Listen to
Okay.
me. If you're frightened enough of somebody to seek the court's assistance in getting a restraining order against them, you want everything that you have that might cause them irritation out of the house. You didn't have these things before he moved back. Now you're going to give them back to him, and the only contact you're going to have with him is over visitation or contact with a child that you share in common. So stop acting stupid.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Now let's talk about him busting down your door. He knocked down the door, Miss Henderson. Was that after you had him served with the protective order in October?
Yes.
Then he, I don't think that was the right thing to do, to knock down the door. It also wasn't the right thing to do to file a false police report, which you did. So you do not get your door fixed as a lesson not to abuse the court system. That's it. Good. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 460 on the calendar in the matter of Candia versus Castro. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Candia, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You lived together for a period of time, and you have a child together.
Yes.
You don't live together anymore, and according to your complaint, he owes you for bail money. He had been arrested on a domestic violence complaint. I assume you were the victim in that domestic violence complaint.
Yes.
And in addition to that, you want him to pay his portion of the remainder of the lease on the apartment that you live in, despite the fact that you put him out of the house. You say he's responsible for it, he's on the lease, he should pay. When was he arrested for domestic violence?
On November 16th.
What were the circumstances of his arrest?
We went to a wedding. It was Julio and my daughter and myself.
How old's your daughter?
She's 1.5 years.
Okay.
And Julio was drinking quite a bit. I asked him to slow down, but he chose not to. He got pretty intoxicated. He got to the point where he wasn't really coordinated in his walk, so we left, and he started to get belligerent in the car.
So you were driving and he was in the passenger seat?
I have a van, so he was in the back with the baby in the car seat.
What was he doing in the back?
He was yelling a lot of names at me, getting really
nasty.
Yes. And I was concerned about my daughter. She was awake and she saw him acting this way. And I told him to stop. He wouldn't, so I told him to get out of the car. I pulled over, told him to get out. First he refused, and then he got out. And then I realized that we were on a busy street. It was in San Francisco. And knowing that he was not walking right, I didn't want him to get hit by a car, so I came out of the car and I asked him to be respectful to me, and I would, drive him home and stuff like that. And he kept arguing with me, and it turned violent at that point.
What do you mean it turned violent? What happened?
Well, he started to urinate on a tree. And
on a busy street in San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds charming.
And I guess he thought it was funny. He started to urinate on my shoe.
Well, he thought it was funny again. Yeah.
He started to urinate on my shoe, and I kind of pushed him away. But I guess he thought I was attacking him, and he just started basically hitting me.
And somebody called the police?
It was 3 ladies in a car were honking the horn at him to stop.
And they must have called the police?
Mm-hmm.
And they came and they arrested you. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Perfect. Exactly what should have happened, right?
Yes.
You don't think anything else should have happened, right?
No.
You were drunk. You were abusive. You were urinating in public. You were hitting her, pushing her. So you should have been arrested, right?
Yes, Your Honor, but may I?
Sure. I want to hear you.
We have a commitment. We make a commitment to each other.
No, you didn't. What kind of commitment do you have?
Well, if I drink, she driving and she...
Oh, I thought you were talking about a marriage commitment,
No,
sir.
no.
Oh, no. You have a commitment that if you drink, she drives. And if she drinks, you drive.
I drive, right.
Good. So you have an arrangement, not a commitment.
Arrangement,
A
I'm
commitment
sorry.
is something that two people
Right.
usually have together when they start a family,
Okay,
when
an
they make a
arrangement,
baby.
sorry.
They go to a minister, they go to a rabbi, they go to a priest, they go to a clerk, they get married.
Right.
You do them.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
So an arrangement.
You had an arrangement.
Right.
The arrangement was when you drink, she drives you home. So I'm listening. I'm waiting. Let me hear you.
We had similar circumstances when she drinks. She gets
I'm not
violent.
interested in similar circumstances.
Okay.
Did she ever urinate on your foot?
She did worse than that, Your Honor.
I don't want to know.
But I'm not
about it.
here for that, right?
I want you to tell me what happened that day
Okay.
that in any way minimizes your fault, your culpability.
Well, I don't feel that I should pay all the money to her.
Very
we went
few
to a
people
wedding.
do.
She started hitting me, and she did this, pulled me out of the car. I wasn't doing anything back there.
I believe she pulled you out of the car. I believe she did. Listen, just because she's very soft-spoken, I don't necessarily buy into that. You understand that, don't you? Huh?
Yes.
I believe that you grabbed him, pulled him out of the car. And that's why he got out. And you have no right to open up your big fresh mouth in front of a baby.
I wasn't doing that, Your Honor.
Well, why would you think, sir, that she would pull you out of the
She
car?
thought I was on the phone talking to my ex-girlfriend. That's what she pulled
In the
car
back
over.
of the car?
In the van, right.
Were you on the phone?
No. I don't even know my ex-girlfriend's phone number.
Was that true that he was on the phone?
He
Look
was
at me.
talking, He was talking to his son on the phone.
You know anything about a phone call to his ex-girlfriend? Look at me. Right here.
I heard him mention her name, but
You did.
I asked him.
You did. When did you hear him mention her name?
During the conversation with his son.
With his son?
Yeah.
Did that make you angry? Look.
That's what did.
Yep. Did that make you
Yes,
angry?
I questioned him about it.
Okay. Very good. You see what happens, how the worm turns? We get some information? Good. Now, you questioned him about it. We don't question about it. You got angry.
I did question him about it.
And what did he say to you when you questioned him about it?
Nothing. He really didn't have any answer for me. He
You're
just
not-
kind
I-
of looked cross-eyed to me.
Go ahead.
I'm not a violent person. I'm not somebody that's going to drink. I get happy, if anything. And I feel like she provoked me to do what I did. Whatever
You
I
can't
did.
provoke somebody.
Well, and I'm not saying that it was right.
Good. Why don't we just stop there? Nobody can provoke another human being into indulging themselves in violence. You can't do that because you're supposed to be able to
But I
control
was
yourself.
not
That's what
screaming
makes us
obscene.
different
I wasn't
from
screaming
animals.
in front of my daughter or anything like that.
That's what
After the
makes us-
phone call is when she
mouth-
started.
My mouth is moving. Mr. Castro, human beings control themselves. Animals can't control themselves. And if you drink to a point where you can't control yourself and you just act out the way you feel, you have to be responsible for that. So 3 ladies in a car were so concerned about what they saw that they called the police and you were arrested. And that was the bail. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why is he responsible for the bail?
I picked him up. I asked him when we were walking across the street to the bailiff's office. I told him how important I needed that money back.
And what did he say?
He told me he promised he would pay me back every single penny.
Is that right?
I don't remember saying that, Your Honor. I started paying her because it wasn't enough money for the bail, and she told me she needed some money, so I said, okay, I'll give you. So I gave her $500 and
Afterwards, sir.
afterwards.
Don't play with me. After she posted the bail, you started to pay her back.
Yes,
Not on your way over to get the bail, afterwards. And how much did you pay her back?
$500,
That's what she says. Now, how long were you in jail, sir?
16 hours, something like that.
Okay, so not long. So
No.
you got out on the 17th. When you got out, where did you go?
We went back to the house.
Is that right?
Yes.
When did you leave the house?
10 days later, because it was just
Tell me
lot of
what
arguing
happened.
and fightings and
Tell
just
me what happened 10 days later.
Well, from the time I got out of jail, maybe the following day, she just, and I understand, she felt like she didn't want me around, and we just kept arguing every day. You see, I had a 14-year-old, and it was arguing all day in front of the kids, calling each other names, and just, so.
So you decided to leave?
I decided to leave. I thought it was the best thing for both of us.
Probably true.
For the kids.
Are you still living there?
Yes.
Good. Why do you think he should pay for the balance of the lease?
Because he chose to leave and he's...
No. You didn't want him to stay. And it was dangerous for him to stay. You have a 14-year-old and an infant? Why should they be around constant bickering and quarreling?
True, Your Honor, but, he signed a lease that, he should at least fulfill his lease.
Well, where'd you expect him to live? You
He
can't
lives
pay
with
rent at
his-
your house
He
and
lives with his
someplace
son.
else.
He doesn't pay anything at his son. I don't see why he cannot pay the remainder of the lease.
You should take him to court for child support. He should pay child support.
That's not true, Your Honor. I still pay my son for living there. I don't live there for free.
No. I'm not talking about where you're living now. You pay your son. I'm talking about child support for your baby, sir.
I'm taking care of my baby.
You mean the baby lives with you?
No, I'm helping her with the baby.
What do you mean you're helping her? Tell me.
giving her money.
How much? It's not an answer.
500
500 a what?
a month,
When was the last time you gave her $500?
December. Well, I paid the rent that month.
In
I paid half
December?
of the rent, yes.
How much
So,
was half of the rent?
$675.
Did he pay half of the December's rent?
Yes, he did.
Okay, what about January?
No,
Why not?
because we were coming to court.
You have to support your child.
Yes, I do. I know.
She shouldn't have to take you to court to get you to do that. You should do that by yourself. But you have to do that regularly, every week or every 2 weeks or every month.
I never said that I wasn't going to pay child support or I wasn't going to help my daughter.
You have to do it.
I know. I never.
A month went by. So far, I didn't see any money. Where was the money for last month?
I haven't given it to her yet.
Why not?
Well, I was waiting for the court.
What do you mean you were waiting? Child has to eat, right?
Well, she eats all the time. I still go over there and. You know,
Mr. Castro,
I still
Mr.
go
Castro,
to Safeway and get
what
her
you're supposed
food.
to do
And
is take care of your responsibilities. Do you understand?
I think I do take care.
Well,
of it.
you didn't. A, you didn't take care of your bail. You paid $500, and the bail, according to the plaintiff, was $3,500, leaving a balance of $3,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Let me see the paperwork. So that's not taking care of your responsibility. It's your bail. You acted badly. You failed to control yourself. It's not her bail, it's yours. And you said you would pay her back. And you did give her $500, but then you stopped. I want to know why you stopped. And you have no answer for that? Is this the first time you were arrested for domestic violence, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
First time you were arrested?
No.
When was the last time you were arrested?
1991.
Were you ever incarcerated?
No.
What happened with this case?
He was dismissed. I was supposed to go to court the following Wednesday, and when I showed up for court, they said that the case was dismissed.
Okay. $3,000 he owes you. I don't think he's responsible for the rest of the rent. I think, however, he is responsible for child support. You live there with your 2 children? You have 2 children?
Yes.
Do you get child support for your 14-year-old son?
No.
Why not?
His father's deceased.
So does he get Social Security?
No. He's been deceased since I was 7 months pregnant, so I was very young. I did not do anything about it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And later today,
She gave up her business to come and volunteer with yours for nothing? She had her own business. You mean to tell me she gave it up? She wasn't in love with you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Rita Candia says during a night out, ex-boyfriend Julio Castro became drunk and belligerent.
You have to start to pay some child support, Mr. Castro.
I don't have a problem with that, Your Honor.
Very good. How much are you going to pay her?
We talked about between $500 and $600.
When was the last time you talked about it?
Maybe about a month ago, 3 weeks ago.
How much money did he give you last month?
Nothing.
Is that right, Mr.
He just
Castro?
gave me maybe diapers.
Right.
Mr. Castro, the first thing I want you to do when you get home is write her out a check. Write her out a check for $500. Because along with certain pleasures that you get from children, you also have responsibilities. So you
I don't have a problem with that.
Then start paying. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't feel like it was all my fault.
I didn't pour alcohol down his throat.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Kennedy. Step forward, please.
Contractor Mike Davis is suing his neighbor, realtor Sheila Kennedy, for the cost of 48 chickens. Mike claims Sheila's dachshund killed them.
Mr. Davis, you and Miss Kennedy are neighbors, I gather, from your complaint. And you, for some bizarre reason, decided to get your daughter a whole bunch of chickens for pets or whatever. Miss Kennedy had a little dachshund dog. And it is your claim that her dog, being attracted by your chickens, used to dig a hole under the fence, I assume, get in there and kill your chickens. So you want her to pay, I don't know, $1,400 for dead chickens. Ms. Kennedy says, A, you don't have any proof that my dog actually did this dastardly deed, but that you made her life and the life of her daughter so miserable that she's counterclaiming for harassment. She says because you were so miserable, she had to give her dog away. She gave her dog to the pound because she was afraid that you were going to come and hurt the dog. Do you live in a residential neighborhood, or is it a farm?
It's residential, half-acre horse property.
Well, that's not a very big property. How many chickens did you buy your daughter?
Over the years, they allowed horses, goats. We've had goats on the property.
Just answer my
Total
question.
chickens, 52 chickens.
52 chickens.
1 a week for a whole year.
Why did you do that?
My daughter's had chickens since she was in diapers.
Well, that's fine, but why 52? Why not 3? Or 5, or something manageable?
We just accumulated 52 by, just off number, but that's how many accumulated over the years.
When did you begin noticing that the birds were dying?
Approximately 2 years ago.
And 2 years ago, did you think that Miss Kennedy's dog was the responsible culprit?
No.
How did you think they were dying?
Well, they're not really dying. They come up missing. Yeah. I work 12-hour days, so I'm gone all day long. My wife's got me trained. I just go to work, keep my mouth shut. And so over the last couple of years, we see a couple chickens missing here and there, and we just keep buying them, keep buying them, keep buying them. I'm even housebroken. But anyways, we just accumulated these chickens over the years. We didn't notice it for the first year, but after the second year, their dog came over in our yard, friends with our dogs, our neighbors. But after a while, then we started seeing the dog's tracks from our property back over to their property. We go underneath the neighbor's fence, then back over their fence. And then we did catch the dog a couple of times in the chicken pen. And when he got away quick enough, my daughters chased it out a couple of times. But one time personally, when I went back in there, I did find 2 dead chickens. It snaps the necks, that's what it does. That's how it kills them.
Did you actually ever see her dog kill any of your chickens?
Actually kill it? No.
Did you actually see her dog with any of your chickens in its mouth?
I did find my chickens, or parts of my chickens, in her dog's backyard. We used to have a joke about it. It was called a con dog. The dog would come over, get into the chicken pen. You follow me now to my house so I can kill you there, or I kill you here.
So who was smarter, the chickens or the dogs?
It's definitely the dog. Definitely the dog. Chickens aren't too bright. Look at this one here.
Come on, Mr. Davis, I can't get too exercised over this. You understand that?
Yes.
Wasn't a vicious dog or anything.
Only on chickens. People, other dogs, it's fine. No problem at all.
You think that any actions that you took caused Miss Kennedy to get rid of her dog?
By all means.
What did you do?
I was over her house 3 times in the last 2 years.
Did you get a little bit nuts?
Yes. Final time I did, I admit. I did apologize. I didn't know the kids were there. This is the first time I ever saw the kids. It was the 3rd time I was over her house.
What did you expect her to do with her dog?
I asked the first time just to fence it off, fence her property off, keep the dog in your own yard. Do what is necessary.
Why didn't you do that, Miss Kennedy?
I did. We have a fence around the whole yard. It just kept digging out. It's a Dachshund. They're known for digging. I did everything I could. Even in the picture of my dog, you can see I have bricks all along the fences. Every time it would dig, I'd put something in it. I tried everything I could to keep the dog in the yard. I couldn't. The chickens are bigger than the dog.
That's a Dachshund?
That's a Dachshund.
Looks like there's a little bit of a beagle in there.
It probably was a mix. It's not a purebred.
No, it isn't.
No. It's a tiny dog.
A little tall for a Dachshund.
A little tall for a Dachshund is right. Well, it evidently doesn't like chickens. All likes to sort of con them. Looks to me as if she did, in fact, try, Mr. Davis, to keep her dog in. She wasn't very successful, though.
Your Honor, the main thing that I was concerned about is it's not the cost of the chickens or anything. This is our only daughter. We don't have any other kids. And we've had a goat there on the property. She had chickens long before. She's got 2 dogs. She has a thing about dressing animals up. She dresses her dogs up and takes them down, parades them. She took 2 of these baby chicks that she had as a day old. She raised them up to 4 months. She dresses them up in little baby clothes. And this is when she was younger, of course. And she would parade down the main street for the parade, the kids' pet parade. It just sort of keep her occupied, keep her mind off boys,
Sounds, Mr. Davis, all sounds terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Shh. So what you're telling me is you lost it the 3rd time around because your only child was upset.
Very.
It's not an excuse for losing it. I mean, it does look as if Miss Kennedy tried to keep her dog inside.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a fence, she's got bricks, but other than tethering the dog to a tree or something, there isn't much you can do. Dog wants to get out, dog's going to get out. I mean, it looks to me as if they were trying to keep their dog on their property. The whole thing is very unfortunate, but not something that belongs in the courtroom. Miss Kennedy's counterclaim was that Mr. Davis came over to your house and scared you to death.
Yes, absolutely.
Want to tell me about that?
Sure. He came over, he followed me into the driveway. I have 4 kids. I have 2 younger than this. And I was trying to get the kids out of the car and into the house. He comes storming out of his truck and screaming at me again about the chickens, which the last episode was over a year ago. So I thought, oh, here he comes again about the chickens. So this time he's cussing and he's screaming and he's gonna kill the dog, he's gonna barbecue it, he's gonna skin it alive. I'm telling him, could you just stop and wait till the kids get into the house? It's her dog. It's Alexis's dog. She was just hysterical. She was crying, shut up, shut up. She's running into the house, slamming the door. She thought he was going to kill me. He thought she was going to come back and kill her. I took the dog immediately to the pound after he left and gave it to the pound. I said, you know, she was devastated, but I just could not have him come to my house again. I have these 4 kids. It's just me, and he terrified us.
Go ahead.
When I pulled up to the property, I got out of my truck and I was raising Cain. When I noticed there was 2 kids, she asked me to stop. I did stop, and I said, quote, I apologize, but this crap has got to stop. That's
it stopped. It stopped because she took the dog, and she put the dog in the pound, and hopefully the dog was adopted by some lovely family. I'm sure that the dog was adopted by some lovely family that didn't have chickens as a next-door neighbor. Right. That takes care of your counterclaim. It all just went a little bit too far. Mr. Davis, there are lots of reasons that your chicks could come up missing. One reason could be a stranger's dog, could be another neighbor's dog, according to you. There were lots of dogs around the neighborhood that played in the yard. And it's unfortunate, but I don't think she's responsible. I think she exercised reasonable caution in trying to prevent from happening, keeping her dog penned in. Didn't work out. She had enough, and she gave the dog away. Not every action requires a lawsuit. This is one of those cases. How many chicks do you have left?
Right now, I have 4 chickens. One of them was not in the pen where they were being attacked from.
Right now you have 4. Is that right?
Correct.
That's enough. That's all.
Case number 133 on the calendar, Your Honor, in the matter of McFerrin versus Wimberly. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss McFerrin, Mr. Wimberly is your former husband.
Yes.
And this young lady is his present wife.
Yes.
Who is this gentleman?
This is my fiance.
How long were you and Mr. Wimberly married?
We were legally married about 4 to 5 years, but together 13 years.
And you have children?
Mm-hmm.
How many children do you
have?
We
have 2 children.
How old are they?
7 and 10.
And who has primary physical custody of the children?
I do.
When do the children go to visit Mr. Wimberly?
He gets them on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th weekends of the month. And he gets them at Christmas and holidays. We alternate, and a month out of the summer.
You say no, sir.
No, I get him whenever she wants me to see, lets me see him.
Well, that's your fault. Because if you are entitled to the 1st, 3rd, and 5th weekend of each month, plus Christmas and holidays or whatever, and if you choose not to exercise that visitation, you can't blame it on anybody else.
I go to the places to pick him up, Your Honor, and she doesn't bring him.
Then you take her to court and you file for contempt of the order.
That costs money.
Of visitation. No, it doesn't. You can go into court without a lawyer. I'm telling you that, Mr. Wimberly. That's where I was for a long time.
Okay.
You pay child support as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much do you pay in child support?
$200 a week, $10,400 a year.
This is what your lawsuit is about, Ms. McFerrin. That when the children were visiting their father on 2 separate occasions, their stepmother cut their hair. And did she color one of their hair as well?
The 10-year-old, she had it bleach blonde.
The boy?
Yes.
And then it is your claim that after she did that, she took your daughter, who's 7, in to have her ear pierced? All of this without your permission?
All of it without my permission.
And then she called Child Protective Services and made complaints about you.
Right.
For all of that, you want her to pay you thousands of dollars, $5,000.
And false police reports.
And false police reports. She says that the kids wanted new hairstyles, which is why she did it. And your daughter, who's 7, wanted her ear pierced, which is why she did it. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And she did call Child Protective Services because she says that the allegations were true.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a couple of questions for you, sir. Just for you.
Okay.
When your children came to visit you, on what day was the first haircut?
The first one was June 25th, 2002.
And it's acknowledged you agree that you were not involved in this beautician stuff. Is that right?
Well, I mean, I knew it was taking place. I mean, I was there.
You were there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they're my kids. I mean, if they want a haircut and it's a birthday and they want the haircut, I'm going to give them a haircut. I mean.
Just a second. You were there when your son's hair was bleached?
Yes. That was the one was in Louisiana. Yes, ma'am.
Why did you permit that?
He's 10 years old. It's his birthday. He wanted his hair changed. I mean, he's 10 years old. I don't see the problem with that.
When the children get their hair cut and when Krishna got her ears pierced, Neil knew about it. Mr. Wimberly
I don't care whether they knew about it or not.
I have a tape saying he didn't know about the ear piercing.
Is that right, sir?
I knew about the ear piercing. I wasn't present at the ear piercing.
What, did your wife call and say to you, I'd appreciate it if you didn't cut the kids' hair when they're with you?
I'm not saying she didn't, Your
I'm
Honor.
asking you whether she did.
I don't recall.
Did you call and say to him, please
Yes,
don't
I
cut-"
said, I told them, do not touch her hair again, because at the time I wasn't worried about my son.
That was June of 2002. And then in
and
July...
the very next time they went, she cut it again. It was less than a
Which is
month.
just a second. Why did you cut their hair again if their mother had said, don't do it?
I was never told by Miss McFerrin never to cut their hair.
Wasn't your husband?
Not to my knowledge, he wasn't. Maybe through the children he might have been, but I never heard anything
Yes.
about it.
Do husbands, do fathers have rights?
That's not what I'm asking you. In my court, fathers have a lot of rights if they use their brains. If you're using your children to irritate her, then you're an idiot, and you're not being a good father. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, it's not
All
like
right.
that.
Then what I'm asking you is, did your former wife call you and say, do me a favor, please don't cut our daughter's hair?
I wasn't that nice.
Or you better not cut their hair again if they're with you. Do you recall that?
I do not recall that. I'm not saying she didn't. I do not recall that. But I do not like talking to her, so...
It's hard to have a civil conversation.
Let me explain something to you. You are, within the context of this family, between these two people, a non-entity. And what I found most interesting about your answer was that you keep referring to the fact that we have custody. We, meaning the two of you, have joint custody of the children. My husband and I share custody of his two children with Tina. You do not. You do not have anything.
That's right.
He has. So you do not exercise any jurisdiction over these children.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing that struck me is that the thing that really bothers you is that he pays, according to you, $866 of monthly child support that I'm sure burns your tail.
No, ma'am.
It's even a police report and CPS reports. They complain about having to pay child support.
Yeah. It bothers me when I pay it when I don't see my kids. And she doesn't work.
Mr. Wimberly, you should not allow your wife to do anything that irritates the mother of your children.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you understand me, Mr. Wimberly?
I understand that I had no rights then.
You are dumb as a bucket of rocks.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Tina McFerrin says her ex-husband's new wife, Lori Wimberly, cut her children's hair and pierced her daughter's ears without her permission. She also claims Lori filed false reports with CPS.
Your job is to make sure that you and your wife, how old are you, by the way?
28,
And how old is she?
19.
She
And
just
you've been
turned
together
19.
how long?
Since
2
she was
years.
16.
Shut! I didn't speak to you.
2 years.
Your job is to make sure that you or your teenage bride don't do anything to upset the mother of your children, who is the children's custodian, because even though you've made some mistakes, which you have, Mr. Wimberly, I know that you have,
I'm not saying I'm
social
perfect.
mistakes, even though you've made certain social mistakes, the children are the innocents. So that if you know that it irritates the custodian of your children for you or your teenage bride to take them to the hairdresser and have their hair chopped, then you say to your bride, don't do it. I don't want to put the children in the middle of this. I don't want to upset her, because after all, they have to go back to her. Do you understand me, Mr. Wimberly?
I understand that I had no rights then.
You are dumb as a bucket of rocks. Don't you understand what I just said to you? Aren't you? You have rights, sir. Your responsibility is to see to it that your children are not stressed by living with a custodian that you purposely stress out. Because if what you're saying to me at age 28, that you don't understand the difference between what your rights are, yeah, I could take my kids and I can take them to have their hair cut. I have rights, I'm a father. And then your kids have to go home and listen to her shrieking because you cut their hair. I'm saying to you, your responsibility is different from your right. Do you get it now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you may choose to ignore it. If you do so, then two innocent people, that is your children, are going to continue to suffer because you are a pig-headed, dumb as a bucket of rocks father who's 28 years old, couldn't keep his pants zipped, got together with a 16-year-old, left their children, left their wife, and married somebody who was 17 years old, who he allows in 2002, when she was 17 years old, 2001, to take his children to a hairdresser and have their hair chopped off twice. That's what you did, sir.
And, Your Honor, also, they've done these false police reports that I have to continually deal with.
What false police reports, Ms. McFerrin?
This one was for April 22nd, 2002. And they said I kicked their dog, and I kicked it so much that its guts were coming out.
It died.
No, Your Honor,
And
that's
it
not
killed.
right.
I killed the dog.
Who saw her kick the dog?
I did. She showed up at my residence.
I was in the shower, Your Honor.
She showed up.
shower?
It was
Yes.
midnight, beating on my house, and she went to the door. I was in the shower.
It was around 11:30.
What'd you go to the house for?
It was about 10 o'clock in the evening.
What did you go to
pick
the
up
house?
my children's baseball uniforms that they did not send back after the weekend visit.
What time did you go to the house to get them?
I called them about 10 o'clock, right before 10, to discuss it with them about the uniforms and asked them to bring them to the house.
And?
They refused. They said, we're not bringing it.
Who did you speak to?
Lori, because I'm not allowed to talk to Neil.
Why not?
She will not let me talk to him.
Okay. Yeah, remember having that conversation with her?
I do remember that. I had asked her if we could meet somewhere because she waited so late in the evening, and she refused. She said, bring it to my house, and she hung up the phone and kept hanging up the phone, and then at 11:30, 12, she shows up banging on the door. I heard a big boom in the front of the house, and she...
When I spoke with her on the phone,
I had opened the door, and she was walking down. We have like a patio kind of, and I just saw her. She kicked a can full of nails because we were building, and then she kicked the puppy, and the dog ran off.
That's a lie.
Shh. Let me see the police report.
She doesn't even mention it.
The police doubt your story. They say that the puppy had an old cast on its leg.
No, it was a new cast.
No, the police said that the puppy had an old, dirty cast on his paw.
Ma'am.
That's what the police said.
It was outright lying.
And that you said yourself to the police that the dog had broken its leg because you stepped on its paw a few days earlier.
When she ran out there, and when I got out there, she was already leaving. She had called the cops. The nails were everywhere, and the dog was screaming, and the next day the dog would not eat or nothing, and the dog died. His whole stomach was exploded. He could not eat. He died.
Your Honor, they don't even have a fence around their yard. Why would they leave a pet that's injured out in the front yard?
Well,
There's no animals.
He was holding the pet, according to the police officer, anyway. What I'm telling you is, you got to stop doing this to each other, because what you're doing is hurting your children.
You're right.
They're in counseling
Well,
now.
but you know, you're right. But it seems to me that you are doing things, Mr. Wimberly, to exacerbate a problem. If you returned the children to their mother after a visitation and neglected to put their uniforms into their bag, how far is it to her house?
About 25 miles.
25, then you get in your car and you bring the uniforms.
See, she called in late. I work. I go in at 4. I go in at 4 in the morning.
Don't speak. I'm not speaking to you.
I work. She doesn't work. I can't get up at midnight and do an hour turnaround when I
She
go in
didn't
at 4.
call you at midnight?
She called at 10. But at 10 o'clock, being at o'clock, we were at work at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Just listen to me, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, you're going to fall over your own tie. She called you at 10. According to you, she doesn't work, so she could have come over to get him because you work at 4 o'clock in the morning, so you were going to sleep. Is that right?
I wasn't asleep, but I should have been.
Just a second. Then you just told me that you didn't see what happened outside because you were in the shower the whole time.
I was in a shower.
Well, if you were in the shower, sir, then you weren't sleeping.
No, I wasn't sleeping.
That's
That was
right.
way
So
back.
if you weren't sleeping and if you wanted to keep peace, so you weren't sleeping 2 hours later, you could have gotten up at 10 o'clock from the couch where you were watching TV, gotten in the car because you forgot the uniforms, driven them over there, and been back by 11. Then you could have been in the shower by 11:30 and not had all this problem. You were the ones who forgot the uniforms, right?
Yes, sure.
You weren't going to sleep. You don't do things to frustrate her. That should be first and foremost in your mind. Not who's right, who's wrong, I've got to exercise my rights. That's what you do.
Your Honor, when she went and got my daughter's ear pierced, she signed this form stating that she is the parent or guardian. They were not even married at that time, and he did not know about the ear piercing. And I have a tape saying that when they got home, I was surprised about it.
He didn't know about the ear piercing. Isn't that right, sir?
I knew they were going to do it.
He was called, I had called him from my cell phone when we were at Walmart. We went to Walmart, Krishna was looking at earrings. I wish my mommy would have pierced my ears. And
then you say what? What would you say today?
We had waited for,
Now we'll say no.
waited for Tina to do it.
My daughter
It's not your job. They're not your children. You take them to lunch, you take them to a movie, you take them to a park, you take them to the beach. If your husband's not around, if he's working, and he should always be around when the children are there. When you have visitation with your children, there should never be a time when you are not with your children, sir.
Only when I work on Saturdays.
Then if you work on Saturdays, sir, then maybe they should be with their mother on Saturday.
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is going to be friction. I'm going to explain why it's going to be friction. Because your wife probably wants to have a child with you. You don't have children together?
No, ma'am.
But she probably would. What?
That's her whole upset, I think.
No.
She would probably like to have children.
No, Your Honor, we were pregnant at one time, and we miscarried, and Miss McFerrin drove all the way to my residence to say congratulations on the baby when she found out that we had lost it.
She's evil. That's evil.
That's where her life on that.
Evil.
Exactly.
It's not what I'm saying to you.
Sure,
What I'm saying to you is you want to have a family. She
Eventually.
would like to have a family.
Yes,
It's
Your Honor.
frustrating for her knowing that it's going to be financially difficult for her to have a family because you're paying so much out of what you earned for your old family. I've heard this 100 times before. What I'm saying to you, sir, is you have to be smart. You have to say, if I'm going to have visitation with my children, I have to be there. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now let's get back to visitation.
The children are in counseling right now because they have told the children if they live with me, I'm going to kill them. They have told the children I have AIDS. They will not come pick them up.
Go ahead.
Can I speak for 1 second? Okay, the weekend that we cut my children's hair in Louisiana, we came back. That following Wednesday, we had received a letter in the mail. Circumstances beyond her control, which to me sound like she cannot drive. She cannot bring them to the meeting point in the divorce decree.
Why couldn't you meet them?
Because this is what they did to my children's hair, and I wasn't going to do anything to help them out to do it.
That's wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Right.
You don't get even by harming your children.
Right. That's why I said they can come get them.
What did I say to him?
Exactly.
You sound like you sound like you suffer from the same dumb as a bucket of rock syndrome. When was the last time you saw your children?
When I cut their hair. I ain't seen them in over 2 months.
Well, that's outrageous.
April 8th.
When are you supposed to see them again?
I get them July 1st.
I'm sorry.
You have nothing to do with this. This is not your business. Don't you understand that?
I'm supposed
This
to.
is not your business.
July 1st, I was supposed to get them for a month. I didn't see them on Father's Day or nothing.
Well, are you planning to take the children to the meeting place so we can pick them up July 1st?
As long as their counselor says that
No.
they're stable enough
Listen to
go.
me. As long as there's a court order for visitation, it's your responsibility to comply with that order. Do you understand?
Yes.
I mean, I certainly hope that somebody is going to say to you, as frankly as I'm saying to you, your children are supposed to see their father. And the fact that you have taken that away, eventually, if you do that, they're going to hate you. I'm telling you, they may not hate you when they're 7 and 10. They'll hate you when they're 15 and 12. They will hate you. Listen, you don't have a case. I can't fix the world in a half hour. I can't fix the world. I can't fix the world in an hour. This is not a battle between the two of you. This is supposed to be a joint effort to raise 2 healthy children. Get on it. Causing you physical injury. You had substantial dental bills. You still have some work that has to be done. You want to be compensated for the assault. Mr. Tomaselli says that you started it, he finished it, and you were unruly. You touched him first, and he acted in self-defense. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What is your name?
Amber Trill.
This is the lovely Amber. Sit down, Amber. I'm not with you yet, but I will be. When did this happen, Mr. Valentine?
If I could recall the exact date, it would be
The questions
April
are going to
3rd.
get harder. Listen to me, Mr. Valentine. The questions are going to get harder. The date should be something that's fixed in your memory.
The night of April 3rd, 2004.
See, we're not going to play with each other. The only one that has a good time here is me. And you and the lovely Miss Amber were at a party together?
Yes.
Whose party was it?
Kind of my party, a going away party.
Going from where to where, Mr. Valentine?
I am from New Mexico, so I was visiting. I do live in Seattle right now.
And in whose house was the party?
It was kind of an office building that they renovated into a music venue.
And how did Amber get to the party?
On her own, driving.
You don't know how she got there?
No.
Was she a friend of yours before April 3rd of 2004?
Yeah, we've known each other for about 3 years.
But you did not know Mr. Tomaselli?
I did not know.
All right, so give me your version, please, of what happened on the evening of April 3rd.
It was going well. The music was going. I did notice Ed and his friends hanging out at the party earlier. I didn't.
Mr.
I'm
Valentine,
sorry.
could you try to focus on me, sir? Focus on me. Not up in the air, not in the heavens, not at your shoes. Try to focus on me. So when you're thinking, you can think and look at me at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
To my left, Amber was standing in the corner, talking with some friends. We gave each other a hug. We ended up talking for about another 5 minutes. Finished continuing going into the hallway where Ed was standing. She said, "Oh, hi, Ed. This is my friend PJ." "Hi, Ed." And instead of extending his hand out to greet me, he just cocked back and punched me in the face. And at that point, I started bleeding. I stepped back and exited, went to my car because I'm bleeding. I didn't want to fight. I just went, it's my party.
How come you didn't call the police?
Because he had left already. Sure, I could call.
How do you know he left already if you went to your car?
Because Amber dragged him out, and I noticed this while I was leaving.
Okay, Mr. Tomaselli, now let's hear your version of the events.
On this night, I'd gone to the party. I was with my friends.
How did you get to the party?
I had taken Amber out for a couple of cocktails earlier, and while we were having cocktails, I don't drink, but Miss Triolo was. She said she was going to a party she was going to bartend at. "Would you like to go?" I said, "Sure." We were going to hook up, go to this party, hopefully go home later to my house. Maybe not. We weren't an item at that time.
Could we? Listen, I'm not interested in the potential romance.
Okay, but this is how I got.
I'm just interested in how you got this. So you knew her before.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long had you known Amber?
About a year and a half.
Had you dated?
Yes, Your Honor.
You dated exclusively or just off and on?
Off and on.
All right. So you saw her on the evening of April 3rd. You had a couple of drinks with her, and then she invited you to come to this party.
I did not drink, Your Honor. I don't drink. I haven't drank in years. I'm a wrestler, athlete, professional athlete.
Okay.
I didn't drink, so I went to this party. Amber was already there. We were standing in a circle.
Who was we?
Me, my friends, and Amber.
Could you look at me when
Mr. Valentine came in from outside, started snuggling up next to Amber. Amber introduced us all. I said, "That's messed up," because they were snuggling. I thought I was going to be with Amber, so I walked away. When I was walking away, Mr. Valentine came up behind me, pursued me down this hallway, and said, "What's up, dog?" Okay, he did not put his hand out. He had his hand clenched, and he reached out to me. Through my experience,
How did you see that, sir, if you were walking away and he was behind you?
I was in the hallway where I turned around to see what was going on. I walked through the hallway. There was a lot of people. I turned around to see where my buddies were, and Mr. Valentine was behind me.
Yes.
He put his hand on my shoulder, said, "What's up,
How did he
dog?"
put his hand on your shoulder?
Reached out towards me.
Touched your shoulder?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
At that time, I turned around and said, "I'm not your dog." And yes, I did hit him. Through my experience and expertise, I know when someone comes up behind you and says, "What's up, dog?" he has bad intentions. A man this size has the potential of hurting me, someone my size, very badly.
All right, Amber. Front and center. You and Mrs. Tomaselli were out earlier that evening?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli did not drink?
No.
You got to the party? You went with him?
No.
You went in your own car.
I believe so, yes.
Try getting it more specific than that. Did
Yeah,
you go in
I
your own
drove.
car or did you go with Mr. Tomaselli?
No, I drove.
So you met there.
Yes.
Why do I feel as if I'm telling the story by myself? These are not trick questions. They may get harder, but right now they're not trick questions, Amber. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You were present at the time that Mr. Valentine was struck in the mouth?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened. Try looking at me when you tell me how that happened.
We were talking, Patrick and I, and Mr. Tomaselli walked up and I said, "Hey Ed, how's it going?" You know, I gave him a hug, told him hi, and I introduced him to PJ, and instead of them meeting each other, he just socked him in the face.
Why would he do that?
Jealousy.
He wasn't drunk or anything, right?
No.
He was clearly angry because he said, "Hey, that's messed up." Right, Mr. Tomaselli?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, who are you?
My name's Kyle McElroy.
Kyle, you were there that day.
I was there that evening.
Good. And I know that you're dying to tell me your version of these events, aren't you, Kyle?
I can't wait.
Well, then just step up here, Kyle. Kyle, how old are you?
I'm 21.
How long have you known Mr. Tomaselli?
I knew none of the parties that night.
How'd you get to this party?
Through a friend of mine. It's a Wednesday night kegger that, as far as I knew, it was like a deal that they had every Wednesday.
Wednesday night, the West Wing is on. Why would anybody want to go to a kegger?
So, would you like me to tell
I
my story?
would.
Okay. Like he said, we were standing there talking. Amber, we were sitting there talking to Amber. This guy walked up. We were introduced. We were standing there. Then Ed got, frustrated, decided to...
Just a minute. I'm going to ask you to speculate. Why did Ed get frustrated?
Well, like you say, the girl he thought he was coming to meet at the party was...
Canoodling.
Canoodling. So...
With somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I saw Ed walking away. The guy kind of came up behind him and kind of turned his shoulder. "What's up, dog?" Ed said, "I'm not your dog."
Well, you just did something. You said, "What's up, dog?" And then you did something like extend your hand.
But kind of, yeah, well...
What does that mean?
Well, like I said...
Touched him on his shoulder, right?
Yeah. Ed took it as a threat, obviously. Punched the guy.
Sit down.
Thank you.
You too. Mr. Tomaselli, you're clearly a very powerful young man. You are proficient in the martial arts.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that they teach you, because I know I have grandchildren who take these martial art classes, is you're supposed to be able to control yourself, Mr. Tomaselli, right?
Yes,
it's
Your
all
Honor.
about control, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think you controlled yourself well that night, Mr. Tomaselli. I think you got very angry. You can't even make an excuse that you'd had something to drink, but you hurt him badly. And there was no aggression on his part, not even according to your witness. He was probably stupid drunk, but he's just sort of a big goof. Mr. Tomaselli, I want you to trust me. He's really just sort of a big goof.
If you say so, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Tomaselli, he didn't come up behind you, spin you around, and punch you. He came up, put his hand on you, and said to you, "What's up, dog?" Now, I don't know what that means, and I may be out of things. My children are older than Officer Bird's children. Do you know what "what's up, dog" means? What does it mean?
How you doing, man?
How you doing? That's what it would seem to me to mean. What's up, dog? It's not necessarily a term of endearment, but it's not, choose your weapons. We're going to, we're going to joust.
Not from my mouth, at least.
Oh, you're just a big doughboy. He's you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a bad guy. Let me see your dental bills, Mr. Valentine.
The first occurred is for the infection. I got all puffed up and in pain. I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and
you're right.
That
I
had
know.
to get antibiotics, painkillers, so I could finally sleep and go back to work.
Which tooth was it? The tooth that's missing?
Yeah.
That one? You need an implant there?
I still need to get my implant.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Patrick Wallentine says fellow partygoer Ed Tomaselli punched him in the mouth. Ed says Patrick was too friendly with his date.
What do you do for a living?
I do a lot of things, but right now,
You just said, what's your favorite thing?
my favorite?
Yeah. You know, you do a lot of things, so tell me what your favorite,
My
what
favorite
your fave is.
is to sing and host people, kind of like parties.
This is so painful.
That's my favorite thing. But right now, I do have a painting business and a construction business that I work for. So but I can do anything.
Can't put in an implant.
I can't.
See what I mean? Mr. Tomaselli.
Yes, Your Honor.
Harmless. You misjudged his intent. Put your hand down.
Sorry.
All right. He's a lover, not a fighter. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to hurt you. And you overreacted because you were angry. And you have to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ed didn't tell the truth. I did not touch him.
It was a tombstone, flying ruckus, left.
I fell back, and that's all, and I walked out.
Went down like everybody.
Maybe he's been choked a couple times, can't really remember it quite straight.
When they step up to the plate.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Soyak versus Holloway. Step forward, please.
Limousine driver James Soyak is suing former client, business owner Tim Holloway, for an unpaid hotel bill. James says Tim is a scammer.
Mr. Holloway, how old are you, sir?
33.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I have a maintenance company.
How long have you had it?
My dad had it since '59. I took it over about 3 years ago.
He's no longer involved in the business.
Sometimes, yeah.
So he still goes into the office
Correct.
on a daily basis?
2 or 3 times a week.
Are you making this up as we're going along, sir?
No.
Are you trying to give me accurate answers? Because you never can tell why I'm asking you these questions.
Correct.
Now, do you live alone or do you live with someone else?
I live with my fiance.
Did you move into her place or did you move in someplace together?
Together.
When?
2 years ago.
What's the address?
North Wilson.
How large an apartment is it?
It's a condo. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Are you renting or did you buy it?
We're renting that.
Are you both on the lease?
Yes.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, Mr. Soyak, you drive a limousine.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you drove Mr. Holloway in your limousine to a casino, hotel.
Yes.
And he told you that he'd forgotten his wallet and he needed a hotel room. So you agreed to put the hotel room on your credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not true.
He used the room and then stiffed you for the reimbursement.
I rented 2 rooms for him, $99 each.
In addition, he didn't have his wallet, so he said he needed some money. You gave him cash. He gave you a check
Yes, ma'am.
for $300. The check bounced.
Yes.
That's
So-
not true.
What's not true, sir?
The room. Now the check.
Let's talk about the check.
Okay.
Let me hear.
I gave him a check. Me and my fiance was having problems at the house. I couldn't get to what I need to get to the bank. I owe him for the $300, but the hotel room, it never happened.
Now, okay. Now, Mr. Holloway, your last paragraph of your answer, which you swore to, sir, says, I did give him a check for $300, which was returned. I explained that I had just moved and was having problems with my bank account.
I did just move.
No, just a second. I explained that I had just moved.
Same thing I just said. I
No,
was having
that's
problems
not. Mr. Holloway, let me understand something, sir. No more than 5 minutes ago, I said to you, where do you live? You gave me the address. Who do you live with? I live with my fiance. How long have you lived there in the condo? 2 years. Did you sign a lease? Yes.
That's what I said. But I just moved. If we was having problems, evidently I had to leave because we was having problems. So I did leave. Now we reconciled. That's one thing. But I did leave. So what I told you is the truth.
Can I see the bills for the 2 rooms, please? Mr. Soyak, how long have you been driving a limousine?
10 years.
Okay. You ever had this kind of trouble?
Never.
Mr. Soyak, let me explain something to you. Don't be an idiot. You don't take out your credit card, allow somebody to put money on your credit card. You don't take checks
Yes,
from people
ma'am.
you don't know.
You're absolutely right.
Good.
It'll never
Can I have
happen
it,
again.
please? The rooms you rented for $99, but he certainly did a lot more damage than the $99.
He drank everything in the bar. Plus movies, plus phone calls.
I never went in the room.
Okay. You owe him a whole bunch of money, sir. You owe him for these 2 hotel rooms. Who else was with you? Who else was with him, Mr. Soyak?
He found a couple of young gentlemen. They were walking the street while we were in Old Town Pasadena, and he claimed he's a music producer. And I don't know how he knew these guys can sing, but he made friends with them and invited them later to be picked up in the car, and we drove them also to the Commerce Casino. He didn't want the other two men to sleep in the same room as him, so he wanted me to get a separate room for them.
That's a lie. That never happened.
It's not a lie because I have my witnesses
Mr. Holloway,
here.
Mr. Holloway.
I have my witnesses here. My other driver that picked him up Sunday.
So you dropped him off and somebody else picked him up?
Yes.
Who picked him up?
Richard. He's my co-driver.
Step up, sir. Your last name?
Thompson.
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,113. That's all. Step out.
Thank you. I trust Judy. She's got a keen sense of what's going on.
I didn't sign for any room. My name wasn't on the room.
I was driving him for about 4 days. He introduced me to his friends, his family.
If he driving, I always introduce people. That's just me.
This will never happen again. This is a very good lesson for me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ottoman versus Richardson. Step forward.
21-year-old student Joseph Ottoman is suing fellow student Timothy Richardson for assaulting him outside a bar. Timothy says a drunken Joseph and his female friends started the fight.
Mr. Ottoman, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you outside of a bar.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Richardson says that there was an altercation outside the bar, but that altercation was started by you and finished by him, right?
Correct.
When was it?
It was August 28th.
And what's the name of the bar you were in?
The bar I saw these guys in earlier was called the Mystique.
That's where you had been for the evening?
Well, that was one of the places.
Is that the last place that you were in?
No, ma'am.
Well, what's the last place?
A bar called Zydeco's.
How many bars had you been to in total that evening?
Those 2.
What time had you arrived at Mystique?
Probably around 10.
Who were you with?
I arrived by myself. I was meeting 2 girls down there.
What time did you leave Mystique?
Oh, must have been around midnight.
And that's when you went to this Zydeco's. And how long did you stay there?
Till it closed.
What time?
2.
Who drove?
We walked. One of the girls I was with lives about 2 blocks away from downtown, and we were walking to her house from there.
What happened when you left Zydeco's and you were walking home at 2 o'clock in the
We
morning?
were walking home to this girl's house. She points them out. They were across the street from us. She's all, there's those guys that were talking to me earlier. They start saying some things. I'm on my phone. I'm not paying attention. All of a sudden, I hear, F you, slut, blah, blah, blah. I say, what's going on here? I go run up to them. And, I mean, it was a very awkward situation. I mean, 2 in the morning, all of us, 21, 22. Nobody there was sober. It was a very drunken situation.
Well, that's good.
It could have very easily been avoided.
Mr. Ottoman, that's the first good thing that you've said to me, sir. You said we were all drunk.
Sure.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Ottoman, you can't speak for anybody else, so I assume that what you're really saying was, I was drunk.
Sure.
So you acted with a certain amount of reckless abandon by running across the street.
I agree.
Good. Now, what happened when you got there?
Words were exchanged.
By the way, who were you talking to on the phone?
I couldn't tell you.
What do you mean you couldn't tell me? You said you were on the phone.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do know it's a girl named Corey. She was one of the ones that was actually there, but she was inside for some reason. I don't know why I was calling her.
I don't understand why you were talking to her if she was inside. Did
Me
she
either.
call you?
I couldn't tell you.
You couldn't because you don't remember?
No, I don't know why I was calling her. I was with her.
Okay. You don't know why you were calling her. So you ran across the street and you said what to Mr. Richardson?
Well, actually, Ashley ran across the street, and I followed her.
Ashley,
Yes, ma'am.
who was also drunk.
Yes. The one that they were talking to.
What did she say when she went running across the street?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
And you went running after her.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep going.
After I get over there, words were exchanged. Started a little scuffle. I don't know exactly.
What do you mean a scuffle? I don't understand what that means, scuffle.
Sizing each other up, I guess.
I don't know what that means, sizing each other up.
There was no physical contact until I turned around, walking away, about 5 steps away, not even looking at this guy, runs up, hits me in the back of my head, and I fall down on my face. I bust 2 teeth out on the concrete.
And you hadn't hit him.
And he jumps in his car.
Just a second. And you hadn't hit him.
No.
And
no physical contact whatsoever.
And you're positive of that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what the assault is about.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're saying is you were too drunk, you didn't connect.
Right.
He did.
When my back was turned and I was walking away.
Listen to me. You know what happens sometimes?
What?
Doodle happens.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joseph Ottoman says he was assaulted outside a bar by fellow student Timothy Richardson. Timothy says Joseph started it, and he finished it.
Now we'll hear you, Mr. Richardson.
Well, first off,
Listen to me. See my eyes?
Yeah.
That's where your eyes are going to be. Not on your shoes, not on your hands. Right here.
Okay. Where the altercation happened, it was like 2 blocks behind Old Town, where all the bars were. And I was with some other friends that were out there, and I was walking with them. I lost my ride, and so I got on the cell phone, and as I got off the phone, I heard this Ashley, I presumed was his girlfriend, why the whole thing got started in the first place. And I heard her say something to me. I replied with no vulgarity. I just looked over, I replied nice. I was like, hey girl, what's up? And before she even said anything, he came out and started saying, oh, you know, F you, F this, you talking, blah, blah, all of that. And I was like, I'm not even talking to you, what's your problem? And then he came out into the middle of the street and was challenging me to come to him. And like, I don't have a habit of going and picking a fight when I'm outnumbered and all that. So I was just like, okay, yeah, that's right, I'll keep walking away. He's like, yeah, you know, you effing P word, keep walking away. I was like, all right, buddy, that's right, I'll keep walking away. So when I got to the car, he came and he got in my face, and that was the only time that I remember saying anything vulgar at all, because he was in my face. And And then on the second encounter, I tried to get away, and it's in the police report. He's like, yeah, that's right, get back in your effing Subaru. And he was in my face, and then when he tried to sidestep him, that's when confrontation arose. He pushed me, and the next thing I know, he comes at me, punching me. And he actually connected with the last punch. He hit me in the lip. I fell down. I yelled for Chris, and that's when he rose his hands up, and he's like, I'll F Chris up. And when he backed up and put his hands up, I didn't want it, because I was kind of on my knees. I felt vulnerable. So I jumped up, hit him in the side of the face, and he had fell down. And then his other friend came to us trying to confront us. He's like, oh, what have you done? Because I saw that I hit him once, he fell to the ground, and I knew, he was in bad shape. And then his other friend came to us, and at that point, I thought the best thing to do was to leave, and we got out of there.
Okay. Who's Emily?
She was a lady who lived in the apartment building right in front of where...
Yes! The only one who's not a friend, who says there was a lot of cursing, both sides. Doesn't know who started the physical fight, but there was definitely an acknowledgement of a fight. 3 or 4 punches were thrown by each guy. Then the fella in the white pants hit another fella in the neck or head, and Joe fell face first into the street. I came outside to help. I kept him from getting up before the ambulance arrived. Emily says she saw lots of fighting before you got hit, sir.
It was drunken fighting. Now, you gotta understand, there was no contact made. I understand I was drunk. I admit that.
Listen to me. If you were drunk and there was lots of fighting, she says she saw a lot of fighting. So what you're saying is you were too drunk, you didn't connect.
Right.
He did.
When my back was turned and I was walking away.
Listen to me. He did.
Right.
He connected.
Okay.
You were too drunk to connect.
Right.
Why are you here?
Because I was walking away, calling it a night. When he decided to connect when I was walking away, trying to get out of there. I didn't want any more to do with the situation. I was already talking to him, face back to this guy. He decides, runs up, hits me in the back of the head, jumps in his car, and takes off.
You know what happens sometimes?
What?
Doodle happens. That's what happens when you're drunk and stupid. You know who started it? You and Ashley. You know who finished it? He did. You started it. He finished it. Stop being a crybaby. That's what happens when you're 21 years old and drunk and stupid. Things happen. And you ended up without 2 front teeth. That's your fault. It's not my fault. It's not his fault. Sometimes when you act drunk and stupid, you get the worst of the fight. Ends up on your face. That's what happens sometimes. So if you want to take this as a good life's lesson, sir, you don't drink until you're so stupid that you don't remember who you're talking to on the phone, what you're talking about. You stay sober enough to remain in control of your actions. And when you don't come crying to courts and say, you got to help me now because I was drunk and stupid. I made myself clear to you. Your case is dismissed.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
I'm really sorry what happened. You know, I'm not a violent person, whatever.
Oh, no, I know he was, and whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal.
You know, it's just a lesson learned, you know, go out and drink and have fun.
What happens, happens. I got to learn from it.
But don't have confrontation because only bad things come from it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Costin, Lutka versus Green. Step forward.
Tina Carson and her son, 16-year-old Keith Lutker, are suing 22-year-old Adam Green for a refund on a 1988 Honda CRX. Tina says Adam sold the car to her minor son without her permission.
Keith, is that your mom?
Yes, this is.
You wanted a car. You saw a car that Mr. Green was selling?
Yes, ma'am.
And despite the fact that you were told, don't buy the car till we see it, you got the money. Where did you get the money from?
I previously had the money from a car that I was going to buy down in Pacific, Missouri, but the guy was a no-show, so I kept the money in my drawer in case he called me back.
When had you taken the money out?
Around February 20th.
And where did you take the money from? Your savings account?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you went over to Mr. Green. How much money did you ultimately give him for the car?
$2,400.
What kind of car was it, Mr. Green?
It was a 88 Honda CRX.
How long have you had the car?
Probably about 5 years.
Who did you buy it from?
Private owner.
When you bought the car, who did you go with to buy the car?
My parents.
And you went with your parents because?
I was 16 or 17 at the time. I couldn't remember exactly.
And so you had to be with your parents?
Correct.
Right. And do you know why that is, Mr. Green?
Because I was a minor.
Right. And do you know what he is?
A minor.
So when he told you if he wanted his money back because his parents hit the roof, that he took his $2,400 and gave it to you, what did you say?
I said I can refund it. I sold him the car as is without a refund.
Don't you understand what you just said to me? You just said to me that you understood that when you bought this car 5 years ago, you were 16 or 17, you had to go with your parents because you were a minor, because you couldn't enter into a contract. He's 16 years old. You have no defense to this case, sir. Well is not an answer. How much did you pay for the car 5 years ago?
$5,500.
Well, getting $2,400 is a pretty good return on your money after you used the car for 5 years. What's the book value of the car?
Book value was
very easy to figure out. So what's the book value of the car?
probably around $1,100.
So not only did you sell the car to a minor, you sold it and took advantage of him.
Well, I made a lot of repairs and
I don't care whether you made a lot of repairs or whether you outfitted the car for the Queen of England. If the book value of the car is $1,100 and you found a 16-year-old sucker to buy it for $2,400, you got a lot of nerve.
He made me that offer, ma'am.
You got a lot of nerve, sir. You are a little amoral. It means that while you are aware of the fact that you couldn't enter into a contract, you forced them to bring a lawsuit against you to get their money back. What do you do for a living?
I'm a salesman.
For whom?
For a retail electronics store.
Where?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Do you tell people the truth when you're selling them a product?
Yes, I do.
Did you tell him the truth about this car?
I told him every problem that I had with
Did you
it.
tell him that the book value of the car was $1,100?
No, ma'am.
If a customer came into your store and said, I want to buy that television set, and I really like that television set, and I'm going to give you $500 for it, and the television set sells for $250, would you sell it to them for $500?
No, ma'am.
Why not? Because it's dishonest. Dishonest. You would be taking advantage of somebody who wasn't either wrapped too tight or who was a minor, who didn't know their way around. You don't want to grow up to be a dishonest person, do you, Mr. Green?
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,400. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It seemed like a really good car, but after my mom told me about all the dangers it had, I felt like I just bought the biggest piece in the world.
It was, you know, a little speed racer, like a Fast and the Furious type vehicle.
The vehicle was located in my driveway, and my conversation with him was probably not aired for TV.
It's, I guess, kind of ridiculous that he had to learn a lesson at my expense.
He'll never do anything like this again, that's for sure.
All parties in the matter of Englehart versus Sykowski. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Kimberly Englehart is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Denise Sykowski, for the cost of 2 tickets to a reggae festival.
Miss Englehart,
Yes.
according to the complaint that I read, a group of people were going to a concert, and the defendant was a friend of yours.
Correct.
You asked her if she wanted to join group at the concert. You say that Miss Sykowski said that she definitely wanted to go, along with her boyfriend. You put the pair of tickets on your credit card. Turns out that only Miss Sykowski went. You want her to pay for both of the tickets. The remainder on her ticket. She didn't give you the full amount.
Yes.
Miss Sykowski says she only said she was ready to go to the concert, and her boyfriend hadn't committed to go to the concert, and if you didn't think long and hard enough about contacting him, then that's your problem, not hers. He didn't go. So, Miss Sykowski, is this the boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
I'm Chris Holton.
How old are you, Chris?
I'm 20.
And you?
21.
How long have you been a couple?
For almost 2 years.
Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You live together in an apartment that you share?
We lived together in an apartment for a year, and then we live in a house now.
That you
together.
lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the concert?
The first weekend in August.
What kind of concert was it?
It was a reggae festival.
A reggae festival?
Yes, it was 3 day long.
Where do you stay?
You camp along the river, and wherever there's a place, you set up your tent.
Sounds delicious. Okay. Now, Miss Sykowski, when your friend Miss Englehart discussed it with you, tell me what you said to her.
Well, first of all, it was all 4 of us at my apartment, and
4 of you, including this gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
That's your boyfriend?
Yes.
And she asked us, she had already paid for all 4 of the tickets. And I said that that sounded lovely, and I wanted to go definitely. And Chris said that it sounded good, but he could not commit to it because he didn't know his financial state right then, and if he had other plans going on.
Is that what he said?
I am not exactly sure what he said, but I remember that she agreed to wanting to go.
She said she wanted to go. Did she say she or they?
She said she wanted to go, but later on, before the concert started, she told me that they were both going to go.
When you say before the concert started, when did she tell you that they were both going to go?
Maybe it was in July.
In between this first conversation, which was in what conversation at your house?
I believe it was in May.
Between May and July, had you tried to sell either one or both of these tickets?
No, I didn't, because I assumed that she would like to purchase the ticket, if not both of them.
Okay. But it wasn't until July that she told you they were both going to go?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I want to know. Mr. Holton.
Yes.
Tell me about your plans to go to this concert, sir.
Well, I never really had any official...
Look at me.
Never really had any official plans. She brought it up, like she said, in May. It sounded kind of interesting to me, but like this was months ahead of time. I never actually told her I would be going to the concert. I didn't even know if she actually had the tickets. We never said, hey, buy us the tickets and we'll pay you back.
Mr. Holton, 2 couples are going on a camping trip. Camping trip where they're going to share a tent and be away with each other for 3 days. And you want me to believe that you just weren't sure that you wanted to go with your live-in, with your significant other to this concert? Just because.
Well, I mean, honestly...
Judge, don't put your hand up. I'd like him to finish.
I don't know, honestly, I never really wanted to go to a reggae festival. I'm not really into reggae music.
Did you tell that to your live-in?
Yeah, I don't think I really explained it to her that I wasn't going to go, but
Well,
I
I
never...
want you to explain to me what you explained to her, sir. If you didn't explain to her that you weren't going to go,
Well, I didn't...
how did you think somebody was going to read your mind that you weren't going to go?
Well, she wasn't trying to sell me a ticket. The plaintiff here is trying to sell a ticket to somebody that didn't want a ticket.
Now I'll hear you.
From the very beginning, Chris never said that he was going to take this ticket. He said it sounded like a good idea, but he said that he would never commit to the ticket. Kim and I had talked about this several times about him wanting the ticket, and I told her several times that Chris was not going to take the ticket, and I told Kim if she wants to talk to him about it, then go for it. Call him because she has the phone number. I ended up going to this place by myself.
I disagree with
30,000 people there.
Just a second. You didn't go there by yourself. According to the complaint that I read and your answer, you picked up his ticket. And you went with his ticket and yours. So you took 2 tickets.
Because it's $165, I would not want to leave under somebody's doorstep to be
Why?
taken.
Why?
Because that was
What did
my
you,
friend.
What did you do with it?
My intentions were to give it back to her
What?
because...
Listen to me. You took both tickets. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Both tickets.
To give her one back.
I don't care what your intention was. You took both tickets.
It's $165 underneath somebody's doorstep.
That's not the problem. The problem is you took both tickets.
It would be my fault if it was lost in the first place.
Well, what did you do with it?
I took it with me, and I never found Kim. I tried calling her several times. I was there by myself. I ended up having to sleep on the side of a road because I could not find her to go camping with her, and I couldn't find her the second day. They wanted $80 for parking. I spent over $160 getting up to this festival and then trying to find my friend. She never even called me to notify me where she was at or where her camping grounds were because we were supposed to camp together, and she never called me or
Who's the
anything.
we?
Myself, Kim, and her boyfriend.
Just the 3 of you?
Yes.
Did you know that it was just going to be the 3 of you camping together?
The day before that we left, I found out Chris wasn't going to go.
Just a second. Was that the first time you found out he wasn't going to go?
It might have been a day before, but it was within 24 hours of the concert.
Tell me who told you he wasn't going.
Denise told me that he wasn't going.
And what did you say to her?
I said, well, what are we going to do with that ticket? Because, you know, it was intended for him. I hadn't tried to give it to anybody else because I was under the assumption that
he was going until he had to do paperwork on the new house. Don't talk over me.
Sorry.
So what did she say?
She told me that she was going to try to go up the next day because she had a lot of stuff going on. And I said, okay, that's fine. We would try to meet up at the concert. But what I didn't know was that people at this concert and that I wouldn't be able to find her.
Okay, how much did you lay out for those 2 tickets?
It was a total of $330 for both tickets.
And how much money did she give you?
She gave me $65.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, that's not true. I paid her the full amount for that ticket.
No, that is not true.
Show me.
I paid her with cash.
She paid me $65
Yeah,
and said, I'll give you the rest later because she was paying me installments.
I paid her 2 installments.
1 installment.
I believe you, Miss Engelhardt. I believe you. I believe she gave you $65. You owe her $265. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out.
Pardons are excused. You may step out.
Because it's obvious you can't really trust friends anymore.
It's quite stupid, actually, but she was the one that decided to end our friendship.
Wife, and he says he hit her in self-defense after she maced him.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 351 on the calendar in the matter of Hutchinson versus Glenn. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
You're suing the defendant because you say he assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And injured you badly.
Yes.
So let me try to put this in perspective. You and the defendant dated in 1992.
Yes.
And not since.
Right.
And this assault happened in what year?
1997.
Just this past summer, in July. What were you doing near him in 1997?
Well, first of all, I wasn't near him. I was walking home from the store, and he came up behind me and viciously attacked me. Your Honor, I have pictures of my injuries.
You mean for no reason out of the blue, he just came up behind you and viciously attacked you?
Yes.
So tell me how that happened.
Well, first of all, we wasn't exactly friends after we broke up. It was a lot of animosity between us, and he told some people that he was going to beat me down like a dog on the street when he saw me, and that's what he did.
And now I'll take a look at your pictures. You were arrested for this assault, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
And according to your papers, you had a trial already.
That's true.
Correct?
Yes.
And the jury found you not guilty.
That's correct. Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That doesn't prevent you from suing here. You understand that? That's why you're here. Now, you want to tell me your version of this incident, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We broke up, and she just keeps harassing me.
How?
Just keeps coming back, harassing me.
How? I know you keep saying that. How does she harass you?
Over the phone, harassing me. She vandalized my car. I have restraining orders.
How many restraining orders do you have against her?
Well, I have this one restraining order against her.
This was in 1995.
Correct. She doesn't even think that it's enforceable. She just keeps coming back to me.
Well, when you say keeps coming back to you, she comes back to you by phone?
Yeah, by phone.
You say harassment. Tell me exactly what she was doing, sir.
Well, she'd come back. She'd call me on the phone all the time, harassing me, cursing me out, cursing whoever answers the phone out, you know, if it's a female or whatever.
Stop shaking your head.
It's
not impressing me.
She has like a fatal attraction. I don't know. I can't shake her.
So tell me what happened on this particular day, sir.
The incident, the day?
Yes.
The day of the incident, she had been harassing me all day long, harassing my wife.
You're married now?
Right. I got married, and she had been harassing my wife all day.
How?
Just calling.
You mean on the phone? Well, I don't want you to use the word harassing anymore. I want you to say what she'd been doing. She had been calling on the phone?
Calling, harassing me, threatening. Threatening me, you know, threatening my wife with bodily injury, threatening her with if she sees her come outside, she's going to do some damage to her. You know, threatening me with I'm going to get my boyfriend to, you know, beat you up and all this. And so
what did you do?
So I started to call the police, you know. I called the police all day long, you know. Kept calling the police, they never showed up. If you take a couple of minutes, Your Honor, you will hear it right here on the tape.
Tapes to the police?
Correct.
I'd like to hear them.
So I was calling. What can you do about somebody who constantly harassing you, making threats to your wife? And
where are they threatening you from?
They're threatening from a phone booth, and they've been threatening me. I had a restraining order put against them. And
they're still calling you after you have a restraining order already on file?
Now she's calling and threatening my wife.
Threatening to do what?
Threatening to do violence. Just keep calling. I put a block on my phone, going to the phone booth calling, and she's vandalized my car. I had that.
Did you report that already?
Yes, I reported that once, and I'm not sure what I can do because, you know.
Is she making death threats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Serious threats, like she's going to do violence. She knows what she looks like. She's going to come to the door and you know, break in, try and get in the house.
What's your address? Oh, is it a house or an apartment?
Apartment 206.
What's your name?
My name is Tony Glenn.
Glenn with a G, George?
Glenn.
Okay, we'll be there.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
What's the emergency dispatch, 20? Yes, I was calling. Someone was supposed to come out to my house because I had someone making threats against me and my family.
What was the address that you gave?
Pearl Street, apartment 206.
Okay, is this Tony Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, Yeah, what's going on now?
Well, the person's still calling, making threats. And the police haven't came. I called about an hour ago.
Yeah, we got your call. As soon as we get an officer out there for the report, they'll be out there.
All right.
Thank you. Oakland Police 22?
Yes, I was calling trying to find out. I called the police about 4 hours ago, trying to get someone out to try and deal with this situation. Someone keeps calling, threatening my family. I know the person, but they're just constantly calling and harassing me, and they won't stop calling and making threats on people's lives.
This is Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, I see your call. We'll be there as soon as we have an officer available.
You must be very busy, huh?
Yes, extremely busy.
Okay, because I called like at 4.
Yep, we're that busy.
All right, turn it off, sir.
All right, well.
Turn it off, sir. Okay. Now, after you got frustrated because the police didn't arrive,
Right.
what happened?
Okay, after she kept calling and calling and calling, and then finally, after the police never arrived, I said, look, what is it you want? What is it you want from me? You keep harassing me, you're harassing my wife, she has nothing to do with this. And so I asked her what she wants, and she was like, well, you meet me at the bakery, and we'll settle this, And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go down there and see what's going on. So I go down there, and then when I get down there, I walk up to her, and she proceeds to try and spray me with the mace, the pepper spray, excuse me. And at that point, we get into a fist fight, and she's been asking for a confrontation for she just wants to get me into a confrontation with her simply because I'm a man, and the way it turned out exactly the way the police saw it. This man's beating on this woman, you see, and that wasn't the case,
Where was the pepper spray?
She had it in her hand. She came out the bakery. I walked up to her, to find out what's going on.
So she told you to meet her at the bakery?
Correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He kicked me with his foot in my face several times.
Before or after you sprayed him?
It was before I sprayed him, and the pepper spray didn't even work.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 37-year-old Gail Hutchinson is suing her former boyfriend, Tony Glenn, for medical expenses, claiming he repeatedly kicked her and slammed her head on the pavement.
So tell me exactly what happened.
And when I walked up to her, she proceeded to spray me with the pepper spray. She didn't hit me directly in the face. She hit me somewhere in here. So it didn't immobilize me, I guess, as she wanted it to. And at that point, I was defending myself, Your Honor.
Okay, so you hit her?
So I hit her, yeah.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah, I hit her a couple of times.
A few times. She got a black eye, right? And you hit her where else?
I hit her in the face, maybe I hit her in the head, and,
You hit her pretty good.
I think I threw her down.
You have any papers from the criminal court?
No, but they found me not guilty.
I know they did.
All
right, Miss Hutchinson.
First of all, Your Honor, I never did harass him.
Just a second. Yes, you did. Just a second. Yes, you did. I have to explain something to you. I'm like a truth machine. Now, nobody has cause to put their hands on anybody else, but don't stand there and tell me that you didn't harass him, because you did. You called his house. You called his house many times. You called his house and spoke to his wife. You called the house and spoke to him. Now, you know that, and I know that. Right?
Right.
All right. Now, then you did say to him, I'll meet you at the bakery. Right?
Right.
All right. So he didn't just come up from behind you out of nowhere and beat you up. And you did have pepper spray. Right?
Right.
Now, Miss Hutchinson, get over him. Do you understand? You pushed this man to the limit. What did you expect him to do? You've been calling and threatening him at his house. Time and time again. You've been calling and threatening his wife. Time and time again. You tell him to meet you so that you can settle it. He's frustrated because the police are not responding. He comes to meet you. And when you see him, you take out pepper spray and you spray him. What did you expect him to do? Say thank you very much?
Because it wasn't like that. He kicked me. He came from behind me, and he pushed me to the ground, and he kicked me with his foot in my face several times.
Before or after you sprayed him?
It was before he sprayed me, before I sprayed him, and the pepper spray didn't even work.
That's not true.
It didn't work.
That's
it
not
didn't
true,
work.
Ms. Hutchinson, let me explain something to you. This is why your case was dismissed in the criminal court, because you lied. And when you lie, a fact finder, that's me, or in the criminal court, that was the jury, they don't know what to believe and what not to believe. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when you tell one lie, I don't know whether the second part of what you're telling me is the truth or a lie. All I know is you say first you told me a story that he came out of nowhere and he assaulted you. And you didn't know why, and you kept shaking your head when you said that, when he was telling me the story about how you were calling and harassing him, you kept shaking your head, no, 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 that's not true. And it turns out it was true. And you came to that meeting with him that you asked for. So he didn't come out of nowhere. You told him, meet me at the bakery. You just told me that that's what you told him. And you came armed with pepper spray or mace or whatever else it was. What did you expect him to do? He's married. He doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. Leave him alone. Otherwise, you're going to have difficulty with him. He's already had a restraining order against you. I mean, that took time to get. Judge gave him a restraining order against you. You have to leave him alone because you're going to, you know, you can push somebody so far and then they're going to lose it. And then you say, oh, I didn't do anything. But you did. You keep pushing his buttons. You can't do that, Miss Hutchinson. You're stalking him. There are laws against stalking. There are laws against the kinds of things that you were doing to him and to his wife. And you have to stop it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have to stop pushing his buttons, madam, because after a while you push his buttons, you never know where it's going to end up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tony Glenn says his former girlfriend, Gail Hutchinson, was a fatal attraction who harassed him and his new wife. She's suing him for beating her up, but he claims it was in self-defense.
Now, Mr. Glenn, that doesn't excuse the fact that you probably overreacted to what happened when you hit her. You understand that. The pepper spray hit you around here. So you weren't, in fact, at risk of your life at the time. You really hit her pretty badly because she's got a black eye and she has some other bruises on her. You went a little overboard. But I don't think you went overboard, sir, out of any maliciousness. I think that you had just had it. You hadn't, I mean, have you seen her pictures?
But Your Honor, she was fighting back. It's not like...
I'm sure she was fighting back.
She was fighting back.
Listen to me. I'm sure as calm, as sweet as she stands here now, I'm sure she was fighting back.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to award her any money. I am going to dismiss this case just as the criminal court dismissed the case because I think in that case the jury was right. You have to stop pushing his buttons, madam, because after a while you push his buttons, you never know where it's going to end up. Do you understand? That's all. This case is dismissed. Now listen to me. Let me tell you about your countersuit, sir. Listen to me. You're suing her for the expenses of living together in 1992, when you were living together. I read your countersuit. Mr. Glenn, why are you looking at me with a look of incredulity? You say in your answer, listen to me, sir. You say in your answer that you lived together and you paid all the bills in 1992 and she was supposed to pay you rent. We are now in 1997, right?
That's correct.
Just a second. Did you ever sue her before for the money that she owed you?
Well,
that you say?
But I had to pay it back, though.
Mr. Glenn, listen to me carefully, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
This happened in 1992, right?
That's true.
Did you ever sue her before?
No, I didn't sue her before.
Good. Right. Now, you're also requesting money that you had to pay for a lawyer, right?
Of course. I mean...
And just shh. Where is the bill for the lawyer?
Here it is.
Let me see it.
I mean...
Let me see the bill. Mr. Glenn, What I'm telling you is you're not totally blameless in this whole thing, sir, because you really shouldn't have gone down to the bakery to meet her.
I've done everything in my power to try and, you know,
Listen
deal
to me,
with her.
sir. Mr. Glenn, you can stand there and you can stamp your feet all you like. What I'm telling you is...
Your Honor.
Shh. What is this?
Your Honor, may I say one thing?
Just a minute. What's the name of your lawyer, sir?
Cornell Solomon. May I say one thing, Your Honor?
Yes.
My wife just gave birth last night.
Right.
That amount of money has just totally wiped me out.
Just a second. What I'm asking is, first of all, one of these amounts has been changed.
No, it has.
Oh, yes, it has.
No, it has.
Shh, shh. Oh, yes, it has. This was a 6, and it was made a 7. I don't know, or a 7, it was made a 6. I don't know exactly what it was, but you say that this one is $600?
That's correct.
All right. How much did you pay the lawyer in total, sir?
$2,500. That's a lot of money, Your Honor.
Just a second. You paid the lawyer $2,500? Give me his phone number. Give me his phone number. Because I'm not entertaining your lawsuit for this money that you say she owes you from when you were living together 5 years ago. I'm not doing it, Mr. Glenn. Okay. Just give me a minute, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Could you return this card to Mr. Glenn, please? Mr. Glenn, first of all, let me tell you, I like your lawyer. And I think that he probably did a very good job for you. You did, in fact, give him an initial retainer of $750. He charged you $500 a day for each day of the trial. You still owe him $750, right?
That's true.
Okay. But you're going to pay him, aren't you?
Of course. I got to.
Very good. And I believe, Mr. Glenn, that you are... Do you work, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Janitorial.
You live in the apartment where you're the janitor?
No. I work at a separate community child care.
Okay. How long have you been working for this company?
5 years.
How much money do you earn?
About $1,400. $1,400 a month.
A month? And what about your wife, sir?
She isn't working at this time. She just had a baby last night.
Is that your first baby?
Yes.
Yes. Her first baby?
Yes.
Boy or a girl?
Boy.
How big?
He was 5 pounds, 13 ounces.
Little boy. I'm giving you your legal fees, sir.
Appreciate
Judgment in this case is on the counterclaim for the defendant, $2,500. Leave him alone.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, it's number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Ehrlich versus Farron. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Ehrlich, you want your engagement ring back?
Correct.
She says that you owe her a small fortune, so she's countersuing for $5,000, which would make this case a wash.
That's what I understand.
So why don't you tell me about this ill-fated romance, sir?
You bet. Your Honor, Rhonda Furin is a woman that I was madly in love with, okay? We both are from Minnesota. She took a teaching job in California for a year. We dated for 2 years. This last February in Las Vegas, I proposed to Rhonda, and I gave her an engagement ring. Okay, she accepted that engagement ring.
Tell me about the engagement ring.
You bet. The engagement ring, which I have here that I bought, was $1.5 carat, okay, engagement ring. And basically, the value of it is $8,000, but I have the receipt right here. Interesting you asked about an engagement ring. The first engagement ring I gave her was 1 carat, okay? That wasn't big enough. When Rhonda came back to Minnesota, we exchanged that ring, we got a bigger one. After that second ring, we got her a third ring because that one wasn't clear enough. I got a bigger and a clearer ring for her, which was at Bediner Jewelry right there. Okay?
That should have told you something
Should have
right
told me
then
something
and there,
right
sir.
there. Absolutely. Yes, it should have, Your Honor.
Go.
Basically what happened is that when we got engaged, from that night on February 7th of '97, I found out recently that Rhonda had never any intention of not only marrying me, she was not in love with me. She was basically, which I have a very crucial witness here, her roommate, basically who she lived with, that this was one big con game. Rhonda was taking me for everything I had, money, wardrobes, rent money, grocery money, everything. She was not in love with me. And the most important thing out of this whole thing is that Rhonda, you know, it is so actually embarrassing and hurtful to say this. Rhonda had already been in a serious relationship, a guy that was spending 2-3 nights a week over at her apartment with her roommate that she was sleeping with, that she was with, and basically, okay, this person that she was with was already 2 months old into her relationship when she accepted my ring on the stage of Caesar's Palace, okay, on February 7th. Now, the only thing I need to really say here is how many engaged couples, how many people ask someone to get married and that person, Rhonda, goes back to California that night with the engagement ring, we're all happy, I never heard from her. I didn't hear from her that next day. I didn't hear from her a week later. I finally called a roommate at 11 o'clock, midnight, all around the clock saying, have you seen Rhonda, my fiance? Do you know where she is, Terry? Terry was covering for Rhonda because Rhonda was with another guy. This all came out. I was made a fool of. Rhonda finally got a hold of me, Your Honor, and she said, hey, I still love you. I still want to be with you. She came to Minnesota, and what's my proof? We had an engagement dinner. My sister put on an engagement dinner. My whole family there. The ring went around the table to my cousins and aunts. She played my whole family for this act, this scam, that she was going to move back at the end of June, this month, right now. She was going to move back, and she was going to plan a May of '98 wedding in front of everybody. When she got this third ring that you have, that when she came back to Minnesota at the end of April, she took the ring, and this is very important. The jeweler says to her, ma'am, you can pick up the ring in the morning. I will have it mounted and set for you. No, Mr. Bediner, that won't do any good. I need the ring right now. Ma'am, I'd have to stay here and pay my guy till 7:30 night. They did it for her. I said, Rhonda, can I ask you, why do you have to be home? It's Saturday night. You have a week left of vacation before you go back to teaching. Why tonight? I have to get back tonight. No, I'm going to school Monday. I found out, Your Honor, that she got that ring. She took it that night. They stayed late for her. She went back to California. She moved out of her apartment from her ex-roommate. Okay, I never heard from her again. I never had a phone number. I never had a forwarding address, nothing. I never heard from Rhonda again. It was at that point, just recently, 3 weeks ago, her roommate said, David, excuse me, you ready? This is gonna hurt you, but I think it's time you stop calling me because I'm in the middle of this and I don't wanna be in the middle of it. She has been on the phone with you for the last 3 months. She's made up all these stories that you owe her money and that you're this and you're that, the whole thing. David, she is with another guy. This guy, I know his name, he's in the room today. She is living with him, okay? She does not love you. She wanted to get the money. You bought her all these clothes, David. You're an idiot. Her roommate was saying, you've gotten all these clothes for her and the money and the cash and everything that you've given her. I said, Terry, I was in love with her.
Where's Terry?
Right here.
Right here. Step up here. You were Miss Fern's roommate?
Yes, I was.
How long were you her roommate?
6 months.
You've just heard him tell this very sad story. Is it accurate?
Yes. She told me from the get-go that she did not love David. She had no intentions of ever moving back to Minnesota or marrying him. She told me that he owed her all this money and she needed to keep the relationship going to get the money back from him that he had owed her.
What money did she say he owed her?
She told me that he owed on a couple credit cards that she had done cash advances on for him and other money while they were living together in Minnesota.
How much money did she say?
It was thousands from what she said.
Did she tell you she had no intention of marrying him?
Yes, on
What
more
did
than
she
one
say?
occasion. She said she didn't love him. She was doing this just to get her money back, and she was never moving back to Minnesota. She was staying here.
May I ask one thing, Your Honor? When I found this out from Terry on the phone, I was kind of playing the judge for a second. I said, Terry, let me ask you something. Why would you tell me this? why she is the, you know, you're the witness, you're the roommate of Rhonda. Why would you go to bat for me? Why would you come into court for me? And not that this is what we'll spend our time with today, because she's done the exact same thing to her roommate. She has stuck her roommate with bills, she has lied to her roommate, and she's lied about everything that, you know, in front of me and my family. I mean, okay, go ahead. I mean, it's just, it's one lie. It's one lie after another.
Sit down, please. Could you step up, please?
My name is Jan Ehrlich. I'm David's sister. We welcomed Rhonda into our home as a guest for a week. They had gone on a trip to Cancun. They came back. We put on an engagement dinner. We announced to everybody, my aunt and my cousins, that they were getting married, passed around the ring. They happened to have been there the next night. They saw the next ring. And from the moment that David asked for the ring back, and this is something that she's done before, any information that she had gathered about our family for the week that she was a guest in our home, she tries to turn it around and use it against us. She threatened to call a family member's girlfriend and say that this family member, she saw them flirting with another woman.
I'm not interested in that.
And
now, Rhonda, you must have a side to this story, madam.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
When you lie to a judge once, they don't believe whatever you say. So I don't have to listen to whatever you say. You're a liar.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sports anchor David Ehrlich says he proposed to Rhonda D. Furin in front of a Las Vegas show audience, and she kept the ring, but not the wedding date.
First, let me see the ring.
It's sold.
Do you have a receipt?
Just a sec.
Sorry.
Just a second. Hey. She was very quiet.
You're absolutely right.
She was very quiet. Why did you sell the ring?
David owes me in excess of $10,000 on the remaining amount that he had borrowed, $40,000. And he had told me that I could keep the ring to pay off past debt.
I want to see the receipt of the sold ring.
I have his phone number, and I have a appraisal of the ring. He is saying the ring is worth
Now listen to me.
$8,000.
Don't try to dance around me. I said I want to see a receipt where you sold the ring. Not its appraisal. Not its appraisal, madam. Not anything else. I want to see from the jeweler or the person to whom you sold the ring, the receipt that you sold the ring and for how much. Do you have it?
I don't have a receipt. I just have his name and number. And
you do?
Mm-hmm.
Give it to me.
And an appraisal.
Give it to me. Now, what is this? For relative? What does that mean?
Bassam bought it for a relative of his in the Middle East.
Who's Bassam?
A neighbor of mine.
Neighbor of yours from where?
Where I reside.
And where is that?
Chino Hills.
Watch them. Mr. Basson, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. Do you know who I am? Yes. That's correct, sir. Now you know who I am? I have some questions to ask you, sir. Did you purchase a ring recently? A diamond ring. No, is not an answer, sir. That requires a yes or a no. Did you purchase a diamond ring from Miss Furman? Mr. Basson? I know you're there, sir. The answer is yes or no, Mr. Basson. Please don't keep me on the phone. Did you buy a diamond ring from her, sir? Thank you very much, sir.
That's a good one.
Order.
You, madam, are a liar. Because I just spoke to this gentleman. He said he was going to buy the ring, but he gave it back.
I don't have it.
You know what happens when you lie to a court once? Madam. So I don't have to listen to whatever you say. You're a liar.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
He's lying, and I don't know. This isn't the
To
person.
extort money after 6 years.
This isn't the person I knew 6 years ago, so I don't know who this is, but this person is lying.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rhonda Furin says she loaned David Ehrlich thousands. That's why she kept the ring.
Listen to me. Mr. Ehrlich.
Yes.
It is clear to me that you were taken for a ride, sir. This lady wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped her in the face.
Thank God. somebody
You are
actually said that.
entitled to everything that you are demanding in this complaint. You are countersuing him for $5,000. I'm not interested in a word you had to say, because you lied to me. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim, and I'm awarding plaintiff the $5,000, which is the maximum I can award him in this court. Thank you very much, Mr. Ehrlich. Be smart next time. Mr. Ehrlich, don't say anything. You just won. Listen to me. Be smart next time.
Thank you
If
very
you give a
much.
girl a ring, an engagement ring, and she asks for a bigger one, it's not somebody that I would want to live the rest of my life
Thank you
with.
very
That's
much,
all.
Your Honor. Thank you. Amen.
They step out. Back to the right.
Thank you.
I have a tape of him in my bed with another woman in which he blackmailed the lady for $50,000. I have his criminal record.
Let's see the tape.
I have promissory notes where he owes me $40,000.
Is that my ready? No.
I have personal ads where he placed personal ads to get women to give him money.
Party's on Gilmore versus Stein. Step forward, please.
Kathy Gilmore is suing her former boyfriend, Jay Stein Jr., for his half of a Mexican vacation they took 6 years ago to restore their romance.
Miss Gilmore, you say he owes you for a 1991 trip that you took to Mexico, right?
Yes.
Could you mind telling me what took you so long?
Well, we were involved in a relationship for another 2 years after we took the trip, and even after we broke up, we continued to be close friends.
Well, in the 2 years that you were together, what did you do about collecting his half of the debt for the trip?
I would bring it up from time to time, and he would always be apologetic and promise to try to make payment when he got his tax refund or when he got on his feet.
Any of that sound familiar to you?
The part about taking the trip, yes.
So, now where have you been since 1993?
We've been in touch by phone. We live far apart, so we've always been in touch. And the topic has come up on regular occasions, and again, he always felt badly that he hadn't paid and promised to try to pay me when he could. And
why did you pay for this trip in 1991?
He had been away on a cruise ship for 4 months in the South Pacific, and we were celebrating his return. We wanted
He was
to take a
working.
vacation.
You were working on the
He was
cruise?
working.
What kind of work did you do on the cruise?
Musician? Musician?
And he asked me, we talked about taking a trip together, and he told me to go ahead and book the trip to Cancun. We decided to go to the jazz festival. So I did, and I charged it on my credit card with a full understanding that he was going to pay for his half.
Whose understanding?
Both of ours. And I have a letter here from him that he sent while he was on the ship, asking me to book the vacation, and he didn't care where we went as long as we were together, and had some suggestions of some ideas where we might want to go.
Does that letter say he was going to pay for half?
No, it just says it doesn't matter where we go as long as we're
Just
together.
says book it. You've heard the phrase statute of limitations. You know what that means?
Yes.
Tell me your interpretation of what that means.
You only have a certain amount of time that you can recover your money.
Right. And there is a logical reason for that, because I usually don't feel compelled to abide by any particular state legislation, because people who come to this court come from all over the country. And even I could not learn all the laws of every jurisdiction, because they're all different. But there is a common sense reason for a statute of limitations, and that is that people only keep bills and papers and receipts for so many years. And after that, they destroy them. So if you have a lawsuit, you are encouraged by the law to be prompt in filing it, so that not only do you have the proper paperwork, but the defendant against whom you are filing the lawsuit has an opportunity to defend himself or herself. In this case, somebody who would have to show me his visa back 6 years ago, which I assume you don't have.
I have it.
You do?
Yes.
You are a terrific guy. However, most people don't. You are certainly a compulsive guy if you've got your bills dating back 6 years. How long did it take you to find those?
A few minutes.
God, you want to come to my house? But that's the reason. So I would like to take a look at it.
Sure. I
I'd like you to
understand
show
that.
me.
The reason I never filed in court was because we had always been friends. There had always been an acknowledgement up until July of 1996 that he was going to pay me the money. And suddenly, he severed all contact in July of 96. I was shocked that suddenly he was acting as though he didn't owe me the money. And that
Did
he
you
wasn't
ever
gonna
tell
pay
her
it.
that you owed her this money?
No, there was never an agreement between us. And there was a
There
time
absolutely was.
of 2 years where we didn't have any contact.
That's not true. I have phone bills. I have them all here.
Are you married now, sir?
No.
You with somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
For how long?
Almost a year now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Look, Miss Gilmore, whether you believe that you had a right to rest on this alleged debt for 6.5 years because you were still on speaking terms with him or not, I find that you waited too long to pursue this claim. And you didn't even immediately after your breakup. You weren't even vigilant at that time. I'm not going to go into why you are 7 years later pursuing this matter, which doesn't involve a lot of money. It involves a relatively small amount of money. I don't know why. Is there any particular reason why right now you are pursuing this claim for, what is it, $1,500?
Yeah, $1,600.
Why?
Well, mainly because the entire time that I was waiting and hoping for him to pay me back, I wasn't in a financial position where I really needed the money. A couple of years ago, I moved to New York, and it's a very expensive place to live, and I thought, you know, this is a lot of money that he owes me. I really should have this. This belongs to me. And that's why I pursued it with him a little more diligently, and he promised to try to borrow it from his sister, and I have a witness that listened to that conversation, that heard what he said.
Oh, really?
I do.
When was that conversation?
It
Just a
was
second.
July of '96. I was advised that I should have a witness.
Do you remember that conversation where you then orally acknowledged that you had a debt to her?
No, Your Honor.
No. You say you have
That's
a
not
witness.
true, Your Honor.
Miss Gilmore, you say you have a witness to that?
I do.
I'd like to hear that witness.
My witness is not here. I have a
Then
signed
I have
statement.
no witness. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Please excuse. You may step out.
And on the next Judge Judy, they were two angry nurses who came to blows over a cockatoo.
I hope that I am never put in a hospital and have to deal with two people like you.
Real people. Judge Judy.
He's lying, and I don't know. This isn't the
To
person.
extort money after 6 years.
This isn't the person I knew 6 years ago, so I don't know who this is, but this person is lying. Well, I guess I won't be speaking to you ever again, but,
Nope.
you know, oh well.
Something about a computer, something about slander. I have no idea how this problem started. And quite frankly, I don't understand your countersuit either. So go ahead, Mr. Cheatham.
Now, there are three separate cases, as you know. The first case is that I had to move out of my apartment because it had gotten flooded. And Roy was coming over and using the computer every day because we were working on a play together.
So you were writing together?
No, we were working together
What
on
does
the
that
play.
mean?
He was doing the publicity, and at the time, I had a client that was doing the play.
What do you mean you had a client that was doing the play?
I had a client who was the star of the show, of the Dorothy Dandridge show. So he was, and so he didn't have a computer, so he was coming over all the time to use a computer.
So you're in the publicity business?
I was helping him out, yes, working for him at his place of business. And I have
Which
a
was his apartment?
His apartment, right.
That got flooded?
I never heard anything about getting flooded or saw any evidence of it.
Go ahead.
So John suggested, John is my housemate, decided that we should leave the computer with Roy while we were out of the apartment and they were repairing it.
Okay.
That's the
Apartment
first
got
part
flooded.
of the case.
You had your computer. You left it with him.
Yes.
Okay. Who bought this computer?
Me.
Do you have his computer?
I have the computer he gave me as partial payment for back wages due for work I did at his address, which is also his business, which I worked at for a year and a half, helping him not just do one play, but his entire business. And I have files and evidence of the things I did, some of the things that I did while I was there.
Well, so you say he handed this computer over to you as partial payment for the work.
Yes, he said that he was in the process of brokering a deal to sell a painting by Goya, the artist, that his commission, he was selling it to a Hungarian count, and his commission would be at least $350,000.
Did you tell him that?
Your Honor, I can't talk about that case. That case is being in litigation as we speak.
Well,
yes.
you have to talk about it, sir.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you why. Because
did not
he
tell him.
says that you gave him this computer, but that you were working on a big deal and that hopefully you were going to get your computer back. Is that right?
No, he was going to pay me more money additionally. The computer was partial payment for monies due. And he came over to my house, set it up, and said he'd have more money for me when this went through this brokering deal, which I don't know anything about how it happened after that.
Had you owed him any money, sir?
No. Not
He was
for
doing
work.
Well, how was he being compensated for doing the publicity?
He was working for the show. He was not working for me. He was working for J.H. Doyle Production, and I have the witness to that effect.
This witness?
This witness.
Would you stand up, please?
Certainly.
Who are you?
I'm Sloan Robinson. And
what
I
do you
was
do?
the actress that was doing the play Yesterday Came Too Soon, the Dorothy Dandridge story. And I know that at that time, Roy came on to our production as a publicist. And I do know that they were working together on that production.
That's one thing I did.
The checks for that were supposed to come through Clarence to Roy.
I never got paid for that either.
And
Just a second. One thing.
From my knowledge, Mr. Cheatham was not responsible for paying Roy's fee.
That was
She was the actress. She would have no knowledge.
The production company was supposed to be paying his fee.
How do you know that?
That's
Where's the
what I
person
was
from?
told.
You can't tell me what you were told.
Okay.
Sit down.
Okay.
Just a second. Were you doing any other work for him other than on this particular Dorothy Dandridge story?
Yes, ma'am. That play was only 3 months long in its entire gestation to the end of that play. I worked for Clarence for a long time, for I'd say over a year and a half, doing many other projects.
Well, why did you work for him for nothing, sir?
Well, I didn't. He paid me twice out of the amount I gave him. I have some invoices I'd given him also. And both times that he paid me, he paid one time I came to him and told him I wanted some money. He said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll pay an electric bill for you. How's that? So he paid the electric bill. The check bounced, of course. And then he did another payment with another fraudulent check that bounced.
I knew.
Just
so
a
he
second.
really hasn't paid
So
me.
the answer is, all this year and a half, he didn't pay you.
Well, that's the Hollywood side of it. He is also my agent. So as my agent, he constantly would tell me, well, Roy, as soon as these deals break, I'll have the money for you. He's a very smooth talker. It's what he
Just a
does.
second. So you were working for him, but he was also your agent and supposedly working for you.
Yes.
He needed money because Clarence never got him any work as a writer. So Clarence said, well, work for me as well while we're trying to get all this done.
Plus, I had a full-time job all this time.
How do
This
you
was just
expect?
additional
Are you
work.
a writer, sir?
No, I'm not a writer.
Well, what do you do?
I manage some writers, and I arrange funds for various film projects. And I was
When did you give him this computer to keep for you?
It was in March or April or something like that. I don't remember. But I know that what had happened, as I said, the apartment flooded. We had to leave the apartment until they fixed it. And I didn't want to put it in storage. He was working on the play. So therefore, I was trying to be a decent person and just let him keep it. But he said that John owed him money, and that I owed him money. He has never given me any invoices. I've not ever paid. He wasn't working for me. He had a full-time job. How could he work for me?
He has copies of
I
the
work
invoices.
all day.
Clarence, I worked for you weekends
have
and
not
after
worked
work
for
all the
me.
time. I was at your house burning the midnight oil.
This accordion file on the floor is a partial bit of the work Roy's
Who are
done
you?
for him.
Just a second. Who are you?
I'm his sister, and we
what do
live
you have?
together.
Are you in business?
He's suing
He's
Giselle.
He's suing me for slander.
That's the one
No,
who
just a second.
slandered.
You're his sister. Are you in business with him?
I help him out occasionally, but I'm not technically in business with him, no.
This is getting very complicated. How much time do I have this afternoon?
Not much.
Do you, you're Mr. Olden?
Olden Camp, yes, ma'am.
Olden Camp. You have a lot of businesses?
I work full-time job in the daytime. And then
What do
I
you
help
do?
them out. In the daytime, I work administrative services at a company in the Valley. That means we help do supply and for an entire building of 200 people.
And you live alone, sir?
I live with Giselle.
We're roommates.
Right.
Fine. Do you have your own computer?
I have my own laptop computer, yes.
Fine. Give him back his computer. That's one. Give him back his computer. That's the way he makes a living. You don't have another computer, do you?
No, I don't.
His laptop is
just a sec.
mine as well.
What?
We both use the laptop.
Good. You can only use it one lap at a time. His computer goes back to him. Now, what's next?
The next is that Giselle,
that's her,
called Sloan, who I was working with, who's a business associate, and she will testify. And on the message, Sloan had said, Clarence, you have to listen to this message. I said, I really don't want to listen to it. It wasn't interesting, so she had to finally talk me into listening to it. And I quote exactly to you what Giselle said is the most heinous of things that you could ever accuse a human being of. She said, and I'll give you a copy of it, I just want to warn you about Clarence. He had the police come here about 1 o'clock this morning, which is true. I don't know what's wrong with him. He has turned his anger at me and Roy for some reason. You know he was arrested for child molestation last month. He has just lost it. I just want to tell you to watch out for him. Let's have lunch.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I am not in fear of this man.
Why are you not in fear of this drunken guy who gets on the pipe? This guy is dangerous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Clarence Cheatham, a Hollywood agent, says his former client, Roy Oldenkamp, did not return his computer, and that Roy's sister, Joselle Celine, slandered him.
Did you leave that message on the machine?
Yes, I did.
Would you tell me first why, and then I'd like you to tell me what proof you have that Mr. Cheatham was in fact arrested on a charge of child molestation?
I called and left that message because Sloan, in addition to being a client of Clarence's, is a friend of mine. She's been to my house, we're friends, and I look out for my girlfriends. I'm afraid of this man now, and I wanted her forewarned.
I'm sorry.
What now? That answers the why.
Right.
Now let's go to the proof. What proof do you have
Clarence
that this man was in fact arrested for anything?
Okay. Clarence called my brother at my home.
This brother?
Yes, he called us to bail him out of jail that night.
She was at the house at the same time when he called.
This is my witness who was also there. They were home working. So Roy put it on speakerphone so he could continue working while Clarence was blethering away. And this is the witness that also heard the conversation of Clarence saying, "Come, can you bail me out? I've been picked up on child molestation charges."
He called from the jailhouse.
Tell me your name, sir.
My name is James Shefflin.
James?
James Shefflin.
Mr. Shefflin.
Yes.
What do you do for a living, sir?
Okay, I manage a rock and roll band, and Roy is stepping up as my publicist. And we do a lot of late evenings. And,
so you were at home in the evening.
I was at his home.
Their home.
Right.
And what happened?
And he got a phone call, and Roy always puts the call on speakerphone.
You mean he picks it up on speakerphone?
I just push speaker.
Push.
You push speakerphone.
So he doesn't have to stop what he's
saying.
saying.
And what did you hear, sir?
I heard that he was calling and asking for help to get out of jail. He said, I need help getting out here. Is there any way you can possibly get me out?
Okay. Mr. Cheatham.
Yes.
Were you, in fact, arrested?
Not for child molestation.
That's not what I asked you, sir.
I'll
no,
tell
no.
you what
Listen to me. I'm asking you a question. Were you, in fact, arrested?
Yes. Nobody bailed me out.
Mr. Cheatham, you were, in fact, arrested?
Yes.
When?
I haven't, April or February or March, something like that. I don't even remember.
Did you, in fact, call Mr. Oldenkamp?
I didn't. Perhaps John called him. I don't remember calling him.
But you could have.
But I could have.
And you could have called him and asked him to come and bail you out.
You don't bail out child molesters.
Oh, you'd be surprised, sir. You'd be surprised. Did you call and ask them to help you?
No. John is my witness to that. No one. I asked no one because I didn't want anyone to even know that I was there. I was arrested on a $250 charge for disorderly conduct, and hey, you spend one night in jail and you're out.
Just let me ask you this question, sir. Was the original charge disorderly conduct?
That was the original charge.
No, the original charge was child molestation.
Just a second.
Who did I molest?
Mr.
A Hollywood producer's daughter.
Shh. Mr. Oldenkamp.
A 25-year-old
Mr.
woman.
Hey. Tell me the circumstances surrounding your arrest, sir.
The circumstances surrounding my arrest, I went to help a friend move. She said her car wouldn't start. I was standing there to call AAA. The next thing I know, all these white policemen were up on me. There were 10 of them, because somebody had called and said that we were about to rob, John and I were about to rob them. So they've called a cab, put us in a cab, and then this cab driver said, well, you guys are probably taking us somewhere to rob me. I just laughed, you know. So and he drove us back, left us at the garage, and as soon as I walked out, they didn't touch John. They arrested me for disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct. I have no idea. I was there for one night. It was a $250 fine that every man in that jailhouse laughed at me. You can't get $250. Every man, I'm in there with dope dealers, pushers, murderers, and everything. And here it is that they're laughing at me. I was the butt of their joke because I couldn't come up with $250 to get out of jail. It was a $250 fine. You will not, you know, so therefore, never for child molestation. A 25-year-old, you don't molest. You don't molest
What's
a
25-year-old?
He said
he
said a Hollywood producer's daughter. Yeah, that's what he said. He said
Clarence
it was a Hollywood
when
producer's
Clarence told
daughter.
me on the phone.
25 years old.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What happens, this is the payback that I get. I mean, I hope his bad karma is ending here. I hope people in Hollywood will be warned.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hollywood agent Clarence Cheatham is suing Joselle Celine for slander.
The true text of the conversation as he called us was that, Roy, I'm in jail, I've been arrested. I think he said Van Nuys Police Department. He says, you won't believe it, I was arrested for child molestation. I was drunk, I was at a producer's house. I accidentally grabbed her daughter. Of course, he'd say accidentally. She had a cell phone in her hand, ran in the bathroom, locked the door, and called 911. They came and arrested me and took me out of the building. This, I'm just.
Why don't you ask
This
John?
is what the phone conversation was.
Why don't you ask John?
First of all, Mr. Cheatham, how many times have you been arrested in your life?
One. I was shocked. I was shocked to be arrested that time.
Who are you?
My name is John Taylor. We sit together, and I mean the whole child molesting thing is not.
Well, just a minute. Were you there when he made the phone call to the defendant?
No.
Okay, then you can sit down.
But he was there when I was arrested. He knows why I was arrested.
Just a second.
Did I call Roy? That's the issue
No,
here.
You don't know whether he called him or not.
I couldn't call anybody out of the courthouse because
No,
I didn't know
sir,
how to use the phone.
Mr. Cheatham, I want to tell you something. I believe, sir, that you called him. There's no question in my mind that I believe that you called him.
I called him.
I did not call Roy. I don't remember calling him. Perhaps John
No,
might
you
have
don't. You
called
may
him.
not remember calling him, but he knows your voice, sir, as opposed to this gentleman's voice.
Well, I don't think he's telling the truth. They're pulling at straws. They're pulling at straws. Giselle lied and said I was a child molester. That's the issue here, that she slandered me to a business colleague of mine. That is what we have. That's what we have. Has nothing to do with that. This is a business client of mine, and you know it.
Just a second. Well, let me ask you this question, madam. Did you believe the fact that he was a child molester?
No, I did not.
Good. Then we don't have a problem.
There you go.
Because in order for you to prove damages, sir, if she published this
She's no
information...
longer working with me.
Listen to me.
She's no longer working with me as a client, so therefore I've lost income.
No, listen.
Okay.
Mr. Cheatham.
Judy, can I just say something?
Mr. Cheatham, there are two things. I have to make a judgment as to whether the phone call was made and whether I believe the phone call was made. I believe the phone call was made. I believe the phone call was made by you, Mr. Cheatham. I don't know whether you were drinking that night or not. This is the person with whom you reside. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So I believe the phone call was made. I believe this person, that he overheard that phone conversation, at least part of it. I don't know why, madam, you felt it necessary to transmit that information to anybody else. There must have been some bad blood, but clearly you didn't believe it, correct?
No, we're not
Did you
friends.
believe?
She did that to malign him because I'm his client.
Did you believe that it was true?
No, I did not.
Did you believe that he had been arrested?
Apparently not. That I had no question. I don't know. That's possible.
That's
but
possible.
as far as him being a child molester, no.
Okay, so you didn't believe it?
No.
Okay, so did you tell anybody else that he was a child molester?
No.
Or that you thought he was arrested for child molestation?
Absolutely.
Did you tell anybody else that?
No.
Okay, so she didn't believe it, so that takes care of that. All right, now I'm going to get to your counterclaim.
I've not been served with such.
You were never served with a counterclaim?
I was never served
You were
with
served by Dan West 2 weeks ago.
I have not ever been served with a cross-complaint. Why would I stand here and lie about that?
Well, I don't know, Clarence. That
Where
sums up the
where
last
would he
half
have
hour.
served me 2 weeks ago?
He served you 2 weeks ago at your abode, wherever
Your
you
Honor,
live.
Well, let me.
I do
just
not
one
have
second.
a counterclaim
Just one
against
second.
me.
I'm
I
gonna
cannot
check
be sued for something
Shh.
that
Listen
I
to
don't
me.
know about.
Listen to me. I'm going to go back and check our court records and see whether or not we are in receipt of a filed counterclaim with proof of service.
Perhaps
Do you
you
understand?
are, but I'm not. And perhaps you are, I'm not. I don't know anything about a counterclaim because I certainly would have answered it.
Well, Mr. Cheatham, you can either finish this case in court today.
I want to finish it today.
Then you want to let me see what this
Sure.
cross-complaint is about?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see if I have the papers. Just wait here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's a nut. I can't believe that he started this whole ball rolling in the first place. The man is simply a nut.
Order. Quiet, please.
Mr. Roldenkamp,
Yes, ma'am.
the plaintiff could not have been served 2 weeks ago with your counterclaim,
What?
sir, because you only filed your counterclaim 5 days ago.
It was...
So you can't have been served, sir, with your counterclaim before you filed it. Your countersuit is dismissed without prejudice. You can refile it if you wish and serve him.
that's fine.
And within 48 hours, the computer is to be returned to him.
I don't want him near me to pick up that computer. Can
Fine,
I have
we'll-
someone pick it up?
We will make arrangements for the computer to be picked up.
Thank you. I fear for my safety with him.
You certainly should. We're done.
So I'll back to you
Shame
right,
on you,
please.
Sloan.
I'll be back to you right, please.
On the next Judge Judy.
Why are you not in fear of this drunken guy who gets on the pipe? This guy is dangerous. You need to stay away from him.
That is defamation of character.
It's reality, darling. It's reality. All that I did for you. This is your payback.
That's who you
That's
should
your
be ashamed of,
payback?
because you're standing there lying and you're implicating
Your
me in
karma,
this.
your karma is
I
just
don't
in
have
the
anything
doghouse.
to do with it. All I
Karma
did
is
was
about
repeat
money.
what you-
So, once again, what can I say? I was a fool, but I just hope others will learn and be warned that there are types like this that prey on people that come to Hollywood, plan on making a career out here, and then get suckered in, abused, and used. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, this is case number 148 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Thomas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You folks are married and are in the process of divorcing. There are a couple of issues that you raised, Mrs. Thomas. First, you raised the issue of some credit card bills that you say your husband owes you.
Yes, ma'am.
And second, you say that you are suing him for pain and suffering during the course of your marriage. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
A couple of things I don't understand. How long have you been married?
3 years.
And you have 2 children.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are expecting a third.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas says that none of those children are his.
Correct, Your Honor.
And how old is the oldest child?
She'll be 3 in November.
So that you're married 3 years, you have 2.5 children.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are his.
Mm-hmm.
How can you claim that he harassed you?
Because, Your Honor, when we got married, he knew full well that I was pregnant. He said he would accept the responsibilities of being a father to my child.
He said that in his answer.
And when we got married, shortly after we got married, things started changing. He changed and started acting, differently than what he had said he was going to do. And he left and said he had wanted a divorce. And that put stress on my body and on me, and going through a pregnancy, as you know, it's very stressful anyway. And when he left, that put stress on me. I went into premature labor with my daughter. She was born at 36 weeks.
Okay, but she's fine and healthy now,
She's
is
fine
that right?
and healthy.
Okay.
Now, when I was pregnant with my second child, he came back and said he wanted to work things out, and we got back together.
Did you tell him that the second child wasn't his?
Yes, ma'am. He knew that it was my son was not his.
The second child?
Yes.
Well, how did that come about? How long were you separated?
We were separated for about 7 or 8 months.
And then.
And how pregnant were you when he decided that he wanted to come back?
When he decided to come back, I was like 6.5, maybe 7 months pregnant.
So right away you went out and found somebody else?
No, not. It wasn't.
Well,
it wasn't like that.
I'm not really good at math. Bert can attest to that.
Yeah.
But if you were 6.5 months pregnant and you were separated for 7 months, it didn't take you long to find a substitute for him.
No, ma'am, it didn't.
So then what happened?
And then when he decided he wanted to come back, he wanted to get back together with me, I said yes, and we got back together, and everything was fine.
What happened to the father of this child?
I left. Me and him had broken up.
And then what happened?
During my pregnancy, during the end of my pregnancy with Mario, when I was pregnant with him, he said that he would take care of the child. That's why my son is named after him. He's a junior. He signed my son's birth certificate and everything. And
sounds like a nice guy.
Yes, he seemed to be a nice guy, Your Honor. But
yeah.
things started changing again.
Like what?
He started started going over to his sister's house. I didn't, have a problem with him visiting his sister and everything, but he would be gone 4 and 5 days at a time and wouldn't even call to say, how you doing or anything. He would just be gone.
So that's the emotional stress that you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. And then, my son has a problem. He has asthma. He had a problem with his lungs when he was born by me going into labor at 34 weeks when he left me the second time.
So then he left you the second time. And how long were you separated the second time?
We were separated for about 9 months, nine and a half months.
And how pregnant are you now?
I'm 8 months pregnant.
Is that the stress that you're suing for, his leaving you?
Yes, ma'am. When he left me in a financial bind as well as an emotional bind also, because we were together and we had bills, different bills, like furniture bills and stuff like that. When he left, I had to pay those.
Who has the furniture?
I do.
Now, what are these credit card bills that you're talking about?
Some credit cards that I had gotten, and I had charged some things for him while we were together.
Like what?
Some stuff for his, he has a keyboard, different things for his keyboard and clothing or something.
How much did you charge for him?
7.
I want to see proof of that.
I have a credit card statement here. It has the balance out that I have been paying on from Sears. That I have here. It has the balance. I just wanted him to pay half of it.
Well, I don't. He's not responsible for the whole balance.
I know half of the balance, Your Honor.
Well, what items are on there?
This credit card statement here does not have the items that are on it. It just has the complete balance that I owe on the bill.
Well, I can't. That's not proof, madam, of anything. I don't know when you made those purchases. I don't know what those purchases were. You say that they were solely for him.
Yes, most of the purchases were.
First you said some, then you said most.
Majority of the purchases were for him.
Well, then you should have brought me the bill that says this is what the items were. You must have that bill.
Yes, I did, but I didn't bring that on. Van Bar was the one that had the total amount due.
Did you ever charge anything on her Sears card, sir?
I didn't know she had one, ma'am.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He plays with women's mind and their emotions and everything because he thinks he's a pretty boy, that's all.
And later today.
You put any kind of schmutz you want in the washer and dryer and then expect her to take it back.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danielle Thomas is suing her husband Mario for pain and suffering because he left her to raise their 3 kids on her own. Mario says he doesn't believe the children are his and feels he owes her nothing.
Now, I want you to be honest with me. Did you ever charge anything on her Sears card, sir?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Okay. Do you pay any support for her?
No, ma'am.
What about child support? Are you seeking child support from him?
No, ma'am, I am not. Not at this time.
At any time?
No, ma'am.
Not so sure about that. How do you support yourself?
I have, I'm on aid from my state. It's called AFDC for my children.
Mm-hmm. You living with the father of this baby that you're going to have?
No, ma'am. I have my own apartment.
Who is the father of this baby that you're going to have?
Brian.
What's he do for a living?
He works at Sharp
and he works at Federal Express.
And who's the father of your second child?
Moses.
Does he pay any support for the child?
It will be starting in 3 months.
But so far he hasn't paid
No,
any
ma'am.
support. And the father of your first child?
Raymond, he...
Does he pay support for the child?
No, not through the court system. No, he doesn't. But he does give her money, and he buys her things that she needs.
You have anything you want to tell me, sir?
Yes. A lot of things she said about me changing, that's not true, Your Honor. When in the beginning, she told me she was raped. And I had no problem with that. I mean, I could accept it, and because I felt she was being honest with me. And about 2.5 months later, or, you know, after everything was rolling all good, it just kept coming back to me because of the way she said it. That it happened in her house and everybody was asleep. And I had already talked to her brother. And her brother had told me that the guy Raymond, she already liked him and was flirting around with him anyway.
So the person that she told you raped her was somebody that you now believe she just went to bed with?
Yes, ma'am, because she admitted to it. When I
When you confronted her with it?
Yes, ma'am.
So that was just a story that she had been raped?
Yes, ma'am.
So that made you mad?
Hurt and mad at the same time. And what made it so bad is when I asked her, she laughed like it was a joke. And I didn't really know how to say, well, this is over or anything like that. So I took some time and went to my sister's house. And she already didn't like me going to my sister's house anyway.
Okay, but you went to your sister's house really to escape a little bit and to think?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How old are you, sir?
24.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at Baskin-Robbins and I'm a part-time model.
How old are you?
21.
All right, Miss Thomas. You get lecture number 307. Officer Byrd is familiar with this lecture. It's unfortunately one that I have given before. You're 21 years old, going to have 3 children by 3 different fathers, none of whom support their children. Those children are being supported by me and the rest of the taxpayers in this country. You've acted wholly irresponsibly in your life with regard to that, wholly irresponsibly to your children. Not easy growing up as one of 3 children, and each one has a different father. Father's Day in your house, you're going to need a revolving door to set up the visitation. That's immature, irresponsible, and very stupid. Now, I don't know where you get the best word that I can think of is chutzpah, which means nerve, to come into court and sue him for mental and emotional stress. I haven't heard, madam, that he's caused you any mental or emotional stress. As a matter of fact, I think based upon what you've told me and what he's told me, he exercised a great deal of restraint by just walking out of the house and going to his sister's house. As far as these credit card bills that you're talking about, you have produced no proof that is satisfactory to me that he owes you a penny. Nothing. Truth of the matter is, the only thing that's irritating is since you support yourself by welfare and you pay your Sears bill by welfare, I'm really paying the Sears bill. So that's irritating. That's irritating number 3. Your lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Alphabetical to your right, please.
He would constantly keep calling and lying to me, saying he wanted to get back with me and everything. And, you know, it's just a bunch of mess. That's all it really was.
And now the next case.
Parties on Williams versus Brazil. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Adrienne Williams says when she was sharing a storage unit with her friend Melvin Brazil, he took her washer and dryer. Melvin says he was only borrowing the appliances and fully planned on returning them.
I love the way your mind works.
Thank you.
I'm not so sure you're right, but I love the way your mind works. You 2 people rented a storage space together. You had just been friends, is that right?
Yes.
You all put your stuff in the storage space. You, sir, sort of borrowed some of her stuff.
A couple items.
You want to tell me what you borrowed?
It was a washer and dryer.
And what did you do with the washer and dryer?
Well, I used it for a few months.
Did you ask her permission?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because I knew I wasn't going to be using it that long. But when I went to take it back, it wouldn't fit in the storage because there was stuff stacked up so high. So I had it took to a friend of mine's house that she knew. And it sat there for a while.
To make a long story short, you go there and find no washer dryer.
Right.
And you were closing out the storage space.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I packed up everything in the storage and took it back to Sacramento with me.
Including what?
Including all of his furniture.
Yes!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
$5,000, so it must be a lot of stuff.
No,
right?
It's just expensive stuff.
You mean small and expensive, like me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melvin Brazel says he borrowed a brand new washer and dryer from Adrienne Williams without telling her. Now, Adrienne doesn't want them back. She wants a new washer and dryer.
You don't think she was wrong, do you?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because we already had arrangements made. She was supposed to contact me that morning, and I was going to get off, and I was going to help her move. I was going to tell her then where her washer and dryer was.
Oh, okay.
You mean you hadn't told her where her washer and dryer?
No, because I knew that she was going to get mad, and I was trying to save her that problem from knowing she was up there and I was down here.
You don't think she had a right to be mad?
This is the way I saw it. She has my pager number, my mother's number, everything. Instead of her just making a rash judgment, taking everything and just taking it back to Sacramento, all she had to do was call me and tell me.
Well, all you had to do was call her.
No, I was at work. I couldn't call her.
Did you let me finish? Don't interrupt me. It's not nice to interrupt a judge. You also, sir, could have called her and said, could I borrow your washer and dryer?
Right, you're right.
Why do you think she should call you and say, what did you do with my washer and dryer, when you didn't have the decency to call her and say, can I borrow your washer and dryer?
Is that a question? You telling me it don't sound like a question.
Anyway, Miss Williams, you don't want that washer and dryer back.
Well, apparently he sold it, so I couldn't have it back if I wanted it back.
Did you sell it?
The washer and dryer sat at my mother's house for 4 months. She could have had that washer and dryer anytime she wanted it.
She said, I don't want it anymore, just like I would say I didn't want it anymore, because you don't know what's been washed in that washer and dryer. She had a washer and dryer that she used for her lingerie, for her underwear, for her sheets and her towels. She knew what went in that washer and dryer. You put any kind of schmutz you want in the washer and dryer and then expect her to take it back after you've stored it, used it. So you sold it. Now you got to pay for it. How old was the washer and dryer?
I bought it in August, and I put it in storage in March, so less than a year old.
And how much did you pay for it?
Approximately $860. I have the receipt here.
Could you give me the exact amount, please?
$823.31.
Now, the rest of what you're suing him for is because he didn't pay for the storage fees, his half of the storage fees. How much were the storage fees a month?
The storage fees were $48 a month.
And how many times did you make the payments of $24 a month, sir?
I paid the last $80 for her to get the stuff out of there.
How many months was your stuff in storage, sir?
How many months was my stuff in storage? 4 months.
How many months was his stuff in storage?
His stuff was in storage the majority of the time I had the storage.
No.
We agreed to pay half of the storage cost, period. We agreed to get a storage big enough to hold both of our things. Why would I get a storage big enough to hold 2 apartments worth of things if I was only going to put 1 apartment
How
worth of
many
things
months storage did you pay for?
I had it for 16 months.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I say so. My stuff was only in there for about 4 months.
What difference does it make if you agreed to rent a storage space with her?
But my
and she
stuff
took,
wasn't
I'm
in there at the
speaking. And she took a storage space big enough to accommodate your stuff, which you say is worth $5,000, so it must be a lot of stuff.
No,
right?
it's just expensive stuff.
You mean small and expensive, like me?
Yeah.
16 months, and you paid once?
My stuff wasn't in there 16 months.
Doesn't make any difference.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All right, listen to me. You owe her 1183.31 for the storage and her washer and dryer. Okay. Your account is suing up for $5,000 for the small yet expensive merchandise that you had stored in the storage. You want to tell me what that is?
It's a leather sectional that I had custom made. There's a marble coffee table
Where are
and
the
end
bills?
table.
Where are your bills?
Rebuilt.
Your bills that you had custom made. If you had a leather sofa custom made, you had marble table custom made, I assume that in addition to standing there with your story, you have some proof to show me.
I didn't bring any.
Why not?
Because I didn't think it was going to be relevant. This stuff is, I've had it for years. I don't have any receipts of it.
Well, if you've had it for
cash.
years, then it's not worth what you paid for it. It
I
has
say 4 years I had it. Her stuff was used when I had it. Her washer and dryer wasn't brand new.
You stole her washer and dryer.
I borrowed her washer and dryer.
No, you stole it.
I didn't steal it.
You stole
it. was there. She had access to it.
You stole it. You stole her washer and dryer without her permission. I never returned it to her.
I tried to return it to her. She wouldn't come get it. It was at my mom's house.
What'd you do with his stuff?
It's still in my garage in the same spot it's been in the day I brought it home.
You have no problem with him getting a large truck and coming to pick up his stuff?
I do. I'd rather deliver it to him. I don't want him at my house.
Oh, that's fine. You sure you want to do that?
Yes.
That was the agreement that
Very
was from the
good.
gate.
Very good. She's going to return your stuff to you, sir.
Your Honor,
And you,
can I say
sir, are going to pay her $1,183.31. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in that amount. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It should have been in the storage where I left it.
Man, all you had to do was call me.
All you had to do was leave it where it was.
It wouldn't go back in there. That's what I'm telling you.
It went in there when I put it
in.
in there, and it should have been in there when I went to go get it
That's
out.
what you said. I told you I was wrong for that.
Okay.
Didn't I? But
Now you understand how wrong. I don't have furniture to give people to borrow. I work for a living just like everybody else. I use the things that I buy for me.
The defendant, according to your papers, is the present girlfriend of your former husband,
Correct.
who you allege defamed you
Yes.
in your community by slandering you and by publishing flyers demeaning your character and saying things about your children.
Yes.
Well, is this the ex-husband?
Yes.
Do you not get along with each other?
No.
You don't get along with him and you don't get along with her?
No. I get along with him if she's not involved.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
9 and 6.
And how long have you been divorced?
6 years.
So you were married for a short period of time.
5 years.
Tell me about this defamation.
I have a copy of the flyer right here. I moved into a new home October of '96, and in February, my neighbors came to me, 3 separate neighbors came to me on one Sunday afternoon and said that prior to me moving in, a strange woman had gone through the neighborhood, knocked on the door, and handed out these flyers.
Can I see them, please? Stop. I've read your answer. Now, according to your answer, you don't deny that you went up to some of the neighbors in the new place where she was moving in and had conversations with them, correct?
Correct.
You didn't discuss these flyers in your answer, but I assume these flyers are flyers that you gave to them. Is that correct?
1. Correct.
So why don't you explain why?
They were meant for a telephone pole.
What?
They were meant for a telephone pole in the neighborhood because we were concerned for the children.
Who was concerned for what children?
I, myself, and the father of the children were very concerned of situations that the children were discussing with both I and the father about some abuse towards them from their mother and the mother's boyfriend.
Step up here.
And we can no longer turn
Step
our
up here.
cheek.
Step up here. You have concerns about your children, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you go to the family court?
I went to the family.
You went to the family court?
No, I didn't go to the family court. I called Child Protective Service.
I didn't ask you if you called Child Protective Services. You chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
Get rid of it. I said if you are concerned about your children, why didn't you go to the family court and say, I am concerned about my children, and I think that perhaps we should entertain a different kind of custody arrangement for the children. Why didn't you do that?
I did do that. I went to mediation.
Good.
A mediation.
Good. And what happened as a result of the mediation?
What happened in mediation?
Yes.
What happened in mediation?
Try to remember, sir, they're your children. Did you
I
get
know
your
they're my
children?
children.
Did you get your children?
Yes, I did get my children.
So you got custody of your children?
Right.
So then
no,
what
I
are
didn't
we
get
doing
custody
here?
Of my...
No.
I didn't get custody.
Just a second.
I didn't get custody of them. I got visitation.
Good. Now, after you had visitation with your children, according to your girlfriend, the two of you became very concerned about the children's welfare.
Right.
So why didn't you go back to court and say, circumstances have changed. I would like to have a hearing with regard to custody of my children. I would like my children to have their own attorney that they can speak to, right? And resolve the matter in an orderly fashion as you did with your visitation request. Why didn't you do that?
Well, the man that I was talking to, the mediator, he said if there was any problems to come back and talk to him. There was a statement that he issued, and it was a court order, that she not degrade me in front of the kids and to leave me alone.
Degrading you in front of the children.
Right.
That's your primary concern.
No, it's not my primary concern, but these children are going, they're not, how do you say it? Excuse me, I'm not well-spoken. But my children are going through hell right now.
You think that this makes it better?
Well, I think I've already gone to the Child Protective Services. I went through the school. Nobody
If you
else
went to
would
Child
help me.
Protective Services, that means that Child Protective Services did an investigation. Huh?
Yes, they did.
And did they take any action?
No, they didn't.
And how many times did you go to Child Protective Services?
3 times.
And of the 3 times that you went there, was any action taken, any case filed against their mother?
There's an open case, but no, nothing was filed against her.
And the children remain in her care?
Yes.
Do you have any children, madam?
Yes, I do.
Where are they?
She's 17 years old.
Where? That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you how old she is. I said, where is she?
She's at home waiting for a job interview.
At home where?
In Santa Barbara.
Is that where you live?
Yes, that is.
So she lives with the 2 of you?
Yes, she does.
She finished school?
No, she hasn't.
Why not?
She's a junior in high school.
I don't understand what you mean. She's waiting for a job interview.
She has independent studies.
Why?
I pulled her out of the school system.
Why?
I don't like the high school near my home.
Mm-hmm. Huh? Is that your only child?
Yes, it is.
And when did you pull her out of school? How old was she?
September of 96.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been living in the same place, sir?
Since, no, it's, what?
Don't ask her.
Well, I'm not good with dates, excuse me.
You're not good with language and you're not good with dates. What are you good at?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you ever pull your kids out of school, Bird, to put them in independent studies?
No, Judge, not
I
at all.
had 5 kids. I never pulled my kids out of school for independent studies.
And later today,
when I started expressing my concerns, she sent me socks saying that I had cold feet.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 33-year-old Jackie Harder is charging her ex-husband's new girlfriend, Denise Novo, with defamation of character. Jackie says when she moved into a new neighborhood, Denise passed out flyers to the neighbors, falsely accusing her of being a child abuser. Denise says that it's true.
You two must be very smart people in order to teach this child yourself. He doesn't know dates, he doesn't know anything, and you do this. This is outrageous! This is outrageous! You are a mean, vindictive woman who could do this. She's moving into a new place. You didn't get what you want when you call Child Protective Services. They conduct no less than 3 investigations against her. They find absolutely no basis to remove the children, so you decide to make a little trouble, make her life a little bit miserable. And you go around before she moves into the community, and you plaster things up around the community. She says you gave it out to people. Genius over here says it was supposed to be on telephone poles. All right? I want to tell you something. If I were the family court judge, not a mediator, but if I were the family court judge who was deciding visitation with your children, you, sir, would see your children under a supervised visitation arrangement only. And I am a very serious proponent of fathers having as unrestricted quality time, if they are not the custodial parents of children, as is possible, because I always believe that that's in a child's best interest, to have the love and companionship of both biological parents. It's always been my view. I'm a serious proponent of that, but not, sir, when you live with this kind of witch. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Whatever counterclaim there is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Licht versus Water. Step forward, please.
42-year-old Reverend Howard Licht is suing his former fiancée, 39-year-old Stephanie Warder, for not returning the engagement ring after they called off their wedding. Stephanie says she was embarrassed by his change of heart.
Simple case. You are Reverend Licht?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Warder, according to these papers, you became engaged to each other. That's correct. You purchased an engagement ring for the defendant. You changed your mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Called off the wedding. Want the ring back?
Yes.
That's pretty simple. How long were you engaged before you changed your mind, sir?
A couple of months, Your Honor.
Why don't you think 4 months? All right, Miss Warden. Water. Is that the way you pronounce it, Water? Why don't you tell me why you think he is not entitled to his ring back?
Well, after he proposed to me and I said yes, I started planning for the wedding. I bought a wedding dress, hired a wedding coordinator, worked on getting the tuxes and the bridal dresses. I had my whole church involved in planning this wedding. And then he calls it off, but doesn't really call it off. He says, well, why don't we just postpone the wedding? It's okay, we can do that. But then he never would talk to me, with no communications whatsoever. Every time I tried to talk to him, he would be abrupt with me, short, had something else to do. And I thought we were trying to work this out.
Did you know why he had called off the wedding or why he wanted to postpone it?
He said that he didn't like the way I talked to waiters and waitresses.
Is that the reason you gave her?
That was among other things, yes. At one point, we had a discussion about her having her hair done, and I was curious. She had told me that she had a speaking relationship with her stylist, and I said, well, what did your stylist think about the hairstyle you wanted? And she told me in no uncertain terms that her stylist had nothing to do with her decision. She was capable of making decisions on her own. It took me aback. I work with a lot of people. I listen to a lot of professional opinions, and while I may not always follow those opinions, when I make my decision, they are informed. I just began to think about what's the marriage going to be like if she makes all the decisions without any input.
I did have input from people, but the final decision is mine when it deals with my hair or something that deals with me, my car, my house, or whatever, because I am the one that has to live with those decisions.
Have you been married before?
No, I have never been married before.
But you have, sir?
Yes.
Never
According
been
to
engaged.
these papers, a couple of times.
Yes, ma'am.
And engaged few more times?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
I was going to ask, but as
Sorry.
long as you did.
Well, there have been a number of engagements.
Altogether, how many times?
I would say probably 7 or 8 different times.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He would get me upset about this or wanting to talk. And then, of course, it was time to go to bed because he had to get up and preach the next morning.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Stephanie Warder says when her fiancé, 42-year-old Reverend Howard Licht, broke off their engagement, she had already spent hundreds of dollars planning the wedding. So she kept the engagement ring to help make up for the loss.
Miss Warder, how much did you actually spend on planning the wedding? Your dress, things that you could not return.
I spent probably with the dress and the plane tickets to fly down to visit him, around $1,000.
I'm not talking about the plane tickets to fly down to visit him. I'm talking about you paid for your dress.
Right.
Were you able to get the money back?
No.
And how much was the dress?
$640.
And did you give any money to your wedding coordinator?
No, because she was a friend of mine and she decided not to.
That's not a big deal.
I've never been married before. I've never been engaged before either. This was the time that I was going to do it. I was 39 years old when he proposed to me. I didn't think I should have any problem about taking the wedding dress back because this was going to be it.
When you accepted this ring, did you know that he had been married twice before?
Yes, I did.
When you accepted the ring, did you know that he had been engaged 8 times before?
Yes, I did. But I also decided that I should not hold his past against him.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you hold his past against him, but when somebody has an argument with you because they don't like the way you talk to your hairdresser, I would suggest to you that there's a problem.
That was after the engagement, not before.
You mean after you were engaged already?
Right.
You're probably lucky. Where's the ring?
I don't have the ring.
Where is it?
It's at home in a safe place. I'm keeping the ring because he gave it to me. It's very important. It meant a whole lot to me.
What do you plan on doing with it, Miss Warder?
Wearing it on my right hand. It's a nice dinner ring.
Good. How much did you pay for the ring, sir?
$2,200.
You paid $2,200? Let me see the receipt. Now, Miss Warder, I'm not going to send a posse to your house to get the ring. It's up to you. But if, you know...
I'm not going to give this ring back.
Well, then you're going to have to pay for it, madam. Listen to me.
So
let me explain why to you, because I think that that's fair. There's a difference between a broken engagement and breaking up a marriage. This guy clearly has some problems. If he makes a big Megillah over your hairstylist, that's not somebody that I, after waiting 39 years, would want to hang my hopes on for a happy future. So you're probably very lucky that it ended when it did after 4 months. The fact that it was an embarrassment to you, I can understand. But an engagement ring is given as a promise, as sort of a contract in anticipation of getting married.
I did not break that contract.
I understand that. It doesn't make any difference. In my view, it doesn't make any difference because whoever breaks the contract, both parties are usually better off. I mean, are you suggesting to me that you would have wanted to have married this man, gone through with the ceremony, and found out what you know about him now 3 or 4 or 5 weeks after you got married, or 5 months after you got married, or perhaps after you had children together? Come on, be smart. You're getting away cheap. So, in my view, irrespective of whose fault it is, of who's willing to stand up and say...
Why should he get back everything when I am the one who's the loser here?
Just a second. I'm going to see to it that you get back the money for your dress. That's going to be deducted from the cost of the ring. Absolutely. Now, if you're prepared to give him back the ring, I'm prepared to enter a judgment against him for the cost of the dress. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Because I don't think that because he changed his mind, you should find yourself in a position of being out financially. Doesn't that sound fair?
Yeah, the humiliation that goes along with it, too.
Well, but you know, you have to balance the humiliation, Miss Water.
Yeah, my whole church knew.
I know.
His church did not know. Even my mailman knew that I was getting married. This was very important to me.
I understand. Would you have preferred to have married him? And then been wife number 3?
At this moment, no.
There you go. So that's the answer.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your Honor, will that be a monetary judgment for the balance?
Well, unless I can convince Miss Water that she should to give up this ring because it's going to be a constant reminder of this very bad period of time.
It is not a reminder of bad times for me. It's a reminder of all the good times for me.
Okay.
I am not giving it back.
Very good. I am deducting the $640 for her wedding dress, sir. $1,560 for the plaintiff. Consider yourself lucky, Miss Water. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I don't even believe in him as a minister anymore. He cannot be a minister and act the way that he's been doing. He does not practice what he preaches.
A sum of $2,000.
And she was supposed to repay you at the rate of $250 a month. Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
And you say in your answer that he was pretty reasonable about late payments and that sort of thing.
Right.
But you were paying off this car. What kind of car was it?
A VW Bug.
They're cute.
Yeah.
Right? So there came a time sometime a couple of years later when she hadn't been making her payments and you were worried about the insurance on the car. You decided to repossess the car.
Yes.
So in the still of the night, without telling her, right?
Oh, no. There was a
Did you tell her you were going to repossess the car?
letter sent to her, yes.
That said what? If you don't, I will?
What?
If you don't pay, I will repossess the car, right?
Right.
But then you didn't tell her when you were going to repossess the car. Day and date.
It gave her till the end of the month, which was...
Mr. Gatewood, do you understand what I'm saying to you? You didn't tell her when you were going to repossess the car.
The exact day and time, and no.
Right.
No.
So, without telling her when you were going to repossess the car, this former friend of yours, you went to where the car was parked.
Yes.
And took it.
Yes.
And the registration was still in your name.
Yes.
Because that was your arrangement.
Yes.
She did what any normal person would do, getting up in the morning. You looked outside and you saw...
No car.
So you...
Called the cops.
You got arrested.
Pulled over, yeah.
For stealing your own car.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What people do to each other and to themselves. This is really so fascinating. I was fascinated when I read this complaint. Now, ultimately, it was okay because you spoke to the police and were able to convince them that it was your car.
Yes.
How long were you in custody?
About an hour and a half.
Was it scary?
Yeah, to say the least.
You ever been arrested before?
Never. I've never even darned bracelets.
What? Did they actually put you in handcuffs?
Yeah, I was on my knees and they put me in cuffs.
Tell me about that. I'm really curious to know.
I was driving home and I noticed the cop following me, and I eventually made it home, and I pulled into my parking lot, or my carport, and I get the lights, and I'm thinking, okay, what's this all about? And I get out of the car, and I get this spotlight in my eyes, and he says, throw the keys to the ground. I'm like, okay. He's like, turn around, put your hands on your head. I'm like,
okay. And he says, walk backwards towards my voice. And I did. He says, stop. And I feel something on my back. And he says, get on your knees. I'm like, execution time. And they cuff me. And I'm like, am I under arrest? And he says, no, you're in custody. I said, can you please explain the difference to me?
Did you say that to him?
Yes.
Did he have a sense of humor?
Not at this time. And so he says, can you explain to me instead why you're driving a stolen vehicle? I said, this isn't a stolen vehicle, this is my vehicle. And he says, what's your name? And I said, Guy Gatewood. He says, well, you got that part right. Then, explain this to me.
Had you known at that time that she had called the police?
No, this is just like completely.
So what you were suing her for is for having called the police and having had you arrested falsely.
Mm-hmm.
So you want some damages for that. And then you want some money for the car.
There's still a balance due on it.
Okay. Well, first let's take care of the car business, and then we'll get into this arrest business, because I have to figure out exactly how much, if anything, you're owed on the car, because she says that she paid money towards the car and she is countersuing you for the car, and then you're countersuing him, Miss Barton, for some nonsense, which I categorize as nonsense, which is the emotional distress of not having your car, something like that, which I'm not even going to think about because that's a lot of baloney. Now, how much did you pay for this VW Bug, sir?
How much did I pay for it?
That was my question. I'm sure you have an answer.
Initially, when I got the car, I paid $500. I then fixed the car up, put a brand new motor in it, fixed the body, did the interior as well. It came to about $2,400.
Let us assume, for the moment, you paid $2,300 for the car.
Okay.
All right? How many payments did you make on this car?
I had about 2 more payments left. I owed him about $600 more on the car.
How many payments did she make on the car?
She made 4 payments on the car. She only owed $425 on the car.
So she paid you in total how much?
$1,575.
Okay. And how much money did you sell the car for, sir? Because your complaint says that you sold the car after you repossessed it.
I've resold the Volkswagen for $200.
Why?
For the condition that it was in when I got it back, it wasn't worth much more than that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
The idea that he came at night and took it was a total passive-aggressive, miserable move that is typical of Guy Gatewood.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Guy Gatewood says he was embarrassed when he was handcuffed and led away after he repossessed Nicole Boughton's car. Now he wants payment for the car and the emotional distress.
Who did you sell it to?
A neighbor downstairs for his wife so she could go back and forth to work.
Let me see the bill of sale. What year Volkswagen was this?
It's a 71 Super Beetle.
Mr. Gatewood.
Yes.
You were driving this car when the police pulled you over.
Yes, I was.
Where were you driving it from, sir?
I was driving it from Shooter's Bar in Huntington Beach.
What is the distance between this barn and your home?
2 miles.
And how long had you been driving the car from the time you repossessed it until the time they repossessed you?
It was stored most of the time. Maybe 2 or 3 times I took it out to keep it running. I also have another Blazer and a motorcycle that I use frequently.
Now, Mr. Gatewood, just because you do a bill of sale for $200, sir, doesn't mean that I believe that you sold this car for $200, because the car was clearly a drivable vehicle. Drivable vehicle, cute little car, almost vintage. You know, 71 VW Bug. Was a convertible or not?
No, it's not convertible.
So just because you wrote $200 here doesn't necessarily mean I believe that you were paid $200 for it. in total?
I'm not the only signature on that statement.
You're talking about the buyer?
The buyer also.
Oh, well, it would certainly serve. The buyer would certainly say that he only paid $200 for the car, because that means his tax when he has to register the car is a lot less. People do that all the time. It's wrong and it's illegal, but people do it all the time when they sell cars that are used cars. They say, hey, listen, put down $200, I'll give you $800 for the car, and then I only have to pay tax on $200. You understand that, Mr. Gatewood?
I understand your point of view.
Now, what did you, after you found out that the car wasn't there, you called the police. When did you realize that he had taken the car?
About 3 days after I made the report. I didn't hear from him. I called him. As soon as I called the police, I was like, your car's been stolen. I know I still owe you money on it. I'll pay you the money I owed on it, but just to let you know, it's been stolen. So if you get any calls about it being found, then call me back. I didn't hear from him.
And he didn't tell you that he had taken the car?
No.
Right?
Right.
Right.
That...
I was told by legal advice not to speak with her.
Just a second.
Sure.
She told you that she had reported the car stolen.
No, she didn't tell me that she
What
called
did she
the police.
say?
She left on the answer machine. She goes, I don't know if you have the car or not, but it's not up here. Give me a call. And that was it.
And did you call her?
No.
Well, didn't you think that she might call the police and report the car stolen?
Yes, but I didn't think they'd take a stolen police report without proof of ownership.
Well, then, that's your problem, Mr. Gatewood, so I'm dismissing that part of your complaint for having you arrested, because it seems to me she did the right thing by calling you immediately, and if you wanted to be smart, you could have had a friend or someone else call her and say, he doesn't want to speak to you personally, he has the car. When did you find out that he had possession of the car?
Like I said, it was about 3 days after. When he didn't call and tell me, make any comment about it being stolen, is when I knew that he must have taken it. I mean, because that's a part of his character that I wouldn't doubt. So a friend of mine was like, do you think he took it? And I'm like, you know, he's just miserable of enough person to have done that, but I'm not going to call him until I chill out, because I was pissed. I had no notification.
Say, listen to me, you're in court. Try angry.
Angry. I was angry. I was out of control. No, I wasn't out of control. I was just angry. I was amazed that he could have done anything so low without any notification. But like I said, it's part of the nature that I knew of him.
So what did you do? Did you call the police?
I called the police and I said, I made a report a couple days ago. This is the number. Scratch that report. He goes, well, was the car stolen or wasn't it stolen? I said, well, it was taken without notification by its registered owner, so I don't know if you'd call that stolen. But it's not stolen, it's in the owner's hands. When I got a call from the Huntington Police Department a couple months later saying, we recovered your car, I knew something definitely went wrong with the reports. I called him immediately. I'm like, Guy, I need to talk to you about your car. There's some problems. If you need my help with anything, call me, and I will totally help you straighten it out. I never heard from him.
He should have told you. He should have notified you immediately that he had repossessed the car. That's what you do when you repossess a car. You tack a notice on the door. This property has been repossessed.
I sent her a registered letter.
Did she pick it up?
She refused it.
Can I see it?
It was...
Well, that's all right. She refused, so there was no notice. If you had a receipt that she had received it, that's one thing. Why didn't you just leave a message on her machine that you had the car, sir?
Because I couldn't prove that she would acknowledge the fact that she received any information from me.
You could have done both. Right? You could have done both, you know?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You buy a used car that's 25 years old. Listen, anything that reaches 25 years old starts to go downhill. Believe me, I know. You know, every year it gets a little bit worse.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Guy Gatewood says Nicole Boughton owes him for a car and a false arrest. Nicole says Guy owes her for payments and repairs she made on the car.
In any event, Mr. Gatewood, I'm really sort of surprised that you repossessed the car anyway, since she owed you just a couple of $100s on the car.
I waited 9 months, 3 of which she lived with me, to receive any form of further payment towards it, and there was nothing coming in. I sent her a letter saying, you know.
What do you mean she lived with you? She lived with you as boyfriend and girlfriend,
No,
or she lived with you as a tenant?
She was a tenant in one of my. I had a spare bedroom. She rented it out.
And while she was living with you, she was driving this car, and she
Yes.
and she did not make any payments.
No.
But then she moved out. But she paid you almost everything that was owed on the car.
75% of the thing, yes.
How long did you have the car?
I don't know, about a year and a half, year?
2 years, almost.
Yeah. We can talk about the repairs of this perfect car that I paid twice of what it was worth when I first bought it, and I had to immediately put in at least $1,000 on this perfect car. That the money went to his buddies at his garage who charged me so much for like repairs.
Did. Just a second. Nobody forced you to go to his garage, right?
Well, I thought they
Ms.
would.
Barton, nobody forced you to go to his
You're right.
garage.
You're right.
And when you buy a used car that's 25 years old.
But when it's supposedly in good condition,
What everybody
in
says.
great condition.
Everybody says it's a cream puff. Isn't that the right word? It's a perfect car.
Anyway, he knew of these repairs, and that's why he wasn't getting some of the car payments on time, was because I was putting so much money into fixing this cream
Listen,
puff.
he's not your partner in this tragedy.
What's that?
He's not your partner in this car tragedy. You buy a used car that's 25 years old. Listen, anything that reaches 25 years old starts to go downhill. Believe me, I know. You know, every year it gets a little bit worse, right? Cars are no different from people. So you buy a 25-year-old car, you be prepared, even if the owner of the car says it's in great shape, to pay whatever it is. If you get disgusted paying for the repairs, then you sell it. But you don't charge it off. Because a bank wouldn't understand if you went to a bank and you say, well, I had to pay repairs for the car, and I had to pay my phone bill, and I had to pay this, and I had to pay that, so I can't pay you this month. They wouldn't have tolerated it. But I have a problem, because you two clearly knew each other. You were friends. You knew each other for a long time. She lived in your house. And, Mr. Gatewood, I don't understand why you treated this in nothing more than what apparently is an arm's-length transaction by going and repossessing the car, not notifying her immediately. Not notifying her immediately. Even if you send her a registered letter, that takes a couple of days to get there. Any normal person coming out of their house, not seeing their car, would call the police. Then you are at risk, sir. So you caused that problem yourself by repossessing the car without advising her that you were going to do it, or at least repossessing the car at midnight, tacking a notice on her door, I have in fact repossessed the car. If you have any problem with that, I'll see you in court. Whatever it is. But you didn't do that. So if you got arrested, that's your problem. So that part of your lawsuit is dismissed. And the only thing that I have to try to figure out is who owes who money for this car.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Now, you have any proof that you paid $2,300 for this car?
That was all in parts, receipts, stuff like that.
Well, let me see.
I did bring anything like that with me because I didn't feel it would be necessary for today.
And you say you bought it for $500?
Yes.
So let's see how much you made. So you don't have any proof of how much you put in to have it fixed for me. So let's say you put in nothing. So you bought it for $500. You got $1,575 from her, and you got another, according to you, $200 from your neighbor. 5, 7, 12. So far, you got $1,775 for a car that you paid $500 for. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, on the other hand, Miss Barton, you had the use of a car for almost 2 years.
Right.
At about $750 a year, right?
Plus all the repairs.
That's what happens when you have a car. You do repairs on a car when you have a car. So for $750 a year, you had basic transportation.
Basic, very basic.
Did you have another car or just this car?
It was great.
It was great. So that seems to me as if, that's nice, 12 months. Comes out to what, less than $50 or $50, $60 a month to own a car? That's not bad. You have insurance for this car?
Not anymore.
Did you have?
Did I have?
Paid up insurance all the time?
All the time, no, not all the time.
Well, that was one of the reasons you repossessed the car, right?
I don't know.
Just a second.
He had more excuses for taking
listen.
the car.
Let me ask you a question. No, he's very clear in his complaint. He says he was concerned because the car's in his name, and you told him you didn't have money to keep up the insurance. So he was afraid if he got into an accident in this car, they were going to come and take away his other car and everything else that he owns. Right? So you didn't have insurance on the car.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Oy. Sounds to me as if you made out okay, Mr. Gatewood, in the sale of the car. Sounds to me, Miss Borton, that you brought on some of this on your own, had no insurance on a car. You certainly weren't going to get stuck if the car was in an accident, or if you hurt somebody, he was going to get stuck. He's the registered owner, and you have nothing because you couldn't even make the car payment, so they couldn't go after you. So it sounds to me as if you two folks absolutely deserve each other. Your complaint is dismissed, your countersuit is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He knows me really well. He knows I'm a very distracted artist. He could have made it a little bit more clearly without being so passive-aggressive about, look, I really don't appreciate what situation you've put me into. He never communicated anything with me like that.
No.
Whatever's in the past is in the past. Everything ends the way it's supposed to end.
তো গাইস কেমন আছো তোমরা? আশা করি তোমরা সবাই ভালো আছো। সবাইকে আবারও স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি নতুন একটা ভিডিওতে। তো তোমরা সবাই কেমন আছো? বাসার সবাই কেমন আছে?
ভাই আমি বলতেছি ভাই আমি একটা কাজ করে ফেলেছি।
কোথা থেকে মারি? কোথা থেকে?
আমি একটা কাজ করে ফেলেছি ভাই। কি কাজ করেছি জানেন?
মারে শুটিয়ে ফেলছে। আসিফ গেমিং কোথায় তুমি? আসিফ গেমিং এর দিকে ইয়া করো। হ্যাঁ ওপি 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 গাড়ি নিয়ে রিভাইভ দিয়ে দাও আমাদের। এবার একটা ভালো কিছু হবে আশা করা যাচ্ছে। এবার আমরা কিছু একটা পাবো মনে হচ্ছে এবার।
ভাই এই জায়গায় আবার ঢুকছে না। ওই 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 লুকিয়ে লিগা ভাই ওই কোন পয়সা গা
মানে বুঝলাম না। আমি রিভাইভ দিলাম
মানে কি রিভাইভ এটা কেমন হলো?
ভাই রিভাইভের কিন্তু ওই আপনারা কিন্তু মাটি ফেটে বের হইছিলেন কিন্তু ভাই।
ভাই এ ভাই
কিন্তু এটা সরাই নিল কেন? ওরা কি আমাদেরকে এটা পছন্দ করেনি নাকি?
এই মিয়া হ্যালো ভাই লন কাস্টম খেলি এসব করে লাভ নাই।
কাস্টম খেলে আমার মনটা আজকে খুব খারাপ, ভীষণ খারাপ। তোমরা আসো, আমি টিম কোডে চলে আসো। টিম কোডে আসো।
টিম কোড হলো
টিম কোডটি হলো 0154 স্টার্ট। এই স্টার্ট দাও
ভাই। এই নামটা জানি কি আপনার?
আসিফ গেমিং থ্যাংক ইউ আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য।
মুকুল ভাই।
হ্যাঁ বলো।
তাহলে আজকের মতো আমি বিদায় নেই, কালকে আবার
দেখা হবে। ওকে
ঠিক আছে ভাই,
আবার দেখা হবে।
হ্যাঁ ভাই
বহুদিন পরে তোমাদের সাথে আবার একটা নতুন ভিডিওতে হাজির হয়ে গেলাম। আমি মামা গেমিং আছি তোমাদের সাথে। তা কেমন আছো তোমরা? পরিবেশটা আবার হঠাৎ করে মচটকার হয়ে উঠায় আরেকটা নতুন ক্যারেক্টার নিয়ে হাজির হয়ে গেলাম আমি মামা গেমিং।
আপনাদের সাথে আমরা আবারও এই মামা গেমিং অনেক মিস করি।
তো বন্ধুরা তোমরা সবাই আজকে রেডি তো? আজকে সবাই
ইনশাআল্লাহ মামা গেমিং আজকে পিটামো।
মামা গেমিং এর সাথে কে কে বন্ধুত্ব করতে চাও একটু হাত তুলো রে, হাত তুলো।
এক নাম্বার আমি ভাই, এক নাম্বার আমি। নাদিম।
ওফি ইন
কিন্তু
দ্য
আপনার
শ্যাট, সবাই কমেন্টে লেখো ওফি ইন দ্য শ্যাট। তো গাইস পরিবেশটা এত যে মশটকার হয়েছে আজকে, আজকে কিন্তু কেউ গোসল করেনি, কি বলো? গোসল করেছো তোমরা? গোসল করেনি কেউ
হ্যাঁ আমি
আজকে।
গোসল
একদম সঠিক কথা বলেছো, সঠিক। আজকে কেউ কি
আমি
গোসল
তোমাদের